Your little club reminds me of the fighting strength of the French army, Marcel. Nothing more than an evening's diversion.
Well spoken, whatever it means.
Welcome, everyone, to this episode, I guess, of the Cheap Seat Podcast, where we're covering The Cheap Detective,
Woo!
On brand.
Season 7. Let's
Season
go.
7. Uh, very enthusiastic. Let's go. We'll start off with our names.
Hello, everybody. I'm a geeky writer.
I'm Crimson Maroon,
And I'm Sprinks.
and we got socials.
Oh, yes. Yes. Hey, by the way, of course I'm enthusiastic. You see what the last season was? Man, this is good. We need
Recovery.
this. We need this. Season 7.
Yeah.
Hate going strong. Anyway,
Ah,
thank you for listening and tuning in to the Cheap Seat Critics podcast. You can follow us on our social media platforms. We are at Cheap Seat Critics on TikTok, Twitter, Instagram, and Cheap Seat Critics podcast over on Facebook. I really got to figure out the name for that. I think it's It's not channel. It's something group. Something. You'll find it. You'll look it up. We are also at youtube.com/at critics as well. If you want to see our PNG tubers and the slideshow we have of whatever it is we're covering at the time, which is currently the Cheap Detective. We also have a letterbox if you're interested in more of the math side of averaging out scores and seeing where our graphs are.
Sweet. All right. Yeah, as mentioned, Cheap Detective. I chose this movie for reasons I will discuss when we talk about our history of this, starting with writer.
hello. Um, my history of this is I have none. I am, however, familiar with the noir detective genre, like Chinatown, among other things. So to watch a parody of that was kind of amusing to me. But that's my history with this is pretty non-existent. Never heard of it before.
Yeah, I figure most people haven't. Um, For me, I've seen this 3 times now. I saw it twice for the podcast, once about a year ago or so. Uh, it's a interesting movie. I came across it because one of my favorite movies, Murder by Death, I found out that this is connected to it to a degree where it's got a lot of the cast and the creator made this. Uh, so got me interested in checking it out. I did. I'm not well versed in noir films. They're usually kind of boring for me. I know this takes a lot of inspiration from Maltese Falcon and Casablanca. So I haven't seen either
And
of those.
Chinatown.
Oh yeah. So one day, hopefully, I'll watch those two and see what the connections are between these because it is a parody of those a little bit. And that is that. Sprinks.
Okay, I did not see Maggie Smith in this movie, so I don't think it had the entire cast of Murder by Death. I have
No,
seen
no,
that one.
no.
This movie, never heard of it. Didn't know. I have no history with it. First time watching it. I am familiar with some of the work of the actor Peter Falk, I believe his name is. Um, he's in Murder by Death. I know him in that, and more knowingly, I know him as the grandpa in The Princess Bride.
Yep, that's
Uh,
pretty much where I know him from
Where
too.
and then
there's an old man.
yeah, because
And
of that,
Columbo.
I think that's his main thing is Columbo. But because of The Princess Bride, I looked up when this movie came out to Princess Bride, and it really showed me that there's a lot more makeup and everything in Princess Bride to make him look a lot older because he looked
Uh,
like he aged like 35 years.
I don't,
I'm
I don't
sure he
know
just
about
visited
that.
Tatooine. It's fine.
This, it's like a 10-year difference, right?
Yeah,
That's probably was
roughly.
86 or something. Uh, I don't know. He looks kind of old here already. I don't know how old he was here or in Princess Bride, but I wouldn't say 35 years.
Wow, I mean, the gray hair really helped.
Yeah.
Um,
Well,
yeah, that's all my history with this. And yes, I did recognize some other actors in the film.
I would hope so. There's a couple of notable ones. I guess before we go on to actually covering it, I got a couple little facts. The budget was, it says 5 to 6 million, probably near the 6 million. Usually go higher on that stuff.
5.5.
And yeah, So not that much, even for the 70s. That's not too much. And then it made 26 or 20. I didn't write it down. It's 26 or 28 million. I don't recall. It's one of those two. So made a pretty decent profit. And no sequel. You it almost well quadrupled its budget. So I would imagine that would be warrant enough to get a sequel. If it was made today, anyways. Back then, I guess not so much.
I don't think this movie needs a sequel.
No, I don't think so. But
With
it's
how
something
it
they could have
ends, it'd be
done.
really weird to do with the sequel.
Um, in the title and intro credit area, where he's walking down the street and he picks up a buffalo nickel. The name that's credited next to it
Nicole.
is yeah,
I wrote that
Nicole
down.
Williamson.
I thought that was pretty funny.
Yeah, because uh, it says Nicole, but the way you're supposed to pronounce the name is Nickel. So that's why a little connection I did there. Then what's her face? What's her name?
One of
Took
the
a look.
many dames in the movie.
Mrs. Montenegro, the one who kept changing her name. She had 16 names in this.
Okay. Uh, I'll point out after like the third or fourth, in my notes, I just called her Sophie.
Sophie.
Yeah,
All right.
that's a little
Uh,
leverage reference for any of you
Miss
leverage fans.
Davro. Yes. And then there's so many that I didn't bother writing them down, so I'm just doing a blanket statement here. But a lot of the characters' names are based or inspired by baseball players and other noir films of the time. So I think all the cops' names are inspired by baseball players, and then some other stuff. So there's that.
Interesting.
Mostly Yankee names, but there's a couple Cubs in there. And that is
Goddamn
the
New Yorkers.
facts. We're going to go by a scene by scene, not super in depth to the degree of our Doctor Strange one. If you haven't checked it out, so I'll bring up the beginning part, the the credits, the intro credits. I love it. I think it's really cool what they did. I don't know how they made it look so good. Uh, if it was modern, it would all just be CG stuff, but that was practical. I don't know
It
how
was
they made it
all
look so cool.
practical.
Everything except I think the car windows.
That's the okay.
Um,
I'm like, there's one that did not look, which was that car window looking inward.
yeah,
The one that I was certain was practical was the name on the jacket.
yeah, yeah. They were all practical except the car, I think.
It was very
So
That's
awesome.
fucking
It
impressive.
did
Wow.
remind me of the credit beginning to the 1966 Batman movie, which
Have I
I
seen that one?
feel
Did you show me that movie?
I don't know if you've seen that's Adam West and Burt Ward,
No, I haven't seen it.
Cesar Romero's
No.
Joker and whatnot, um, where it starts with a bunch of vibrantly colored spotlights on brick walls of the writings and everything with some of the characters thrown in.
Mhm.
And
Uh,
you get a good view of San Francisco streets, even though it's not really relevant to
yeah.
the story. But
But the opening crawl is
The opening crawl told me exactly what kind of movie this was.
it was
The humor,
almost a Monty Python type.
the humor thrown in told me I the the just the funniness of this movie, and it gave me this movie gave me airplane feels, or a Mel Brooks kind of movie. The main difference, though, to me, which I'm sure I'll touch on at the very end, is this movie's humor came a lot more from the dialogue and writing than physically showing.
yeah, it was not slapstick.
Yeah,
Um
that's true for most of it.
yeah, I have to agree with that. To be fair though, I actually didn't know it was a parody until I was 15 minutes in, maybe 10.
Really?
So, yeah, it's because
Oh wow.
I don't look up the genres for anything until I'm I'm done with it. I figured out it was a parody after like 15 minutes and then actually went back and rewatched the first 15 minutes again to understand it.
To me, the
Yeah,
old couple listening in on the other wall was a dead giveaway.
That's the thing. I was like, I can't tell if this is supposed to be funny because I didn't know if they were trying to characterize the chief of police as super callous or if he was just uh like obviously to me the died standing. I'm like, okay, yeah, I've seen some hokey sci-fi shit written from this time period, so maybe it was a fucking sci-fi weapon. You know, they said silencer, but you know, I didn't believe it for a second because they were standing. Um but yeah, I had an interesting experience. I watched the first 10 to 15 minutes, not sure if they were being serious or not, or if this was a parody.
yeah.
Because I took the in that vein. I thought the opening text crawl was just super callous. I'm like, are they setting this up so that the main character is going to be the difference in this story? Like everyone else is super callous and he's the outlier. Is that going to be it? Because I didn't know like this was a parody, so I just assumed that that was just straight up world building, and it was world building just in the wrong fashion.
Um, I do like the Philippines thing, the scroll though, where it has nothing to do with the story. It's funny.
Yep,
It did feel like Monty Python Holy Grail credits to me, throwing random stuff.
I would agree. Yeah.
In terms of the Frozen victims, when I first saw this, I'm like, I'm going to enjoy this movie a lot. Unfortunately, that was my favorite gag, so it was spent in the very beginning.
Oh,
But
Yeah.
uh, I, I I really loved it. It's funny. I wish they did more with it
they were
because it comes back, but
they were actual
not as
still actors, right?
yes.
Okay, except
The
one
guy in
scene.
the elevator, I'm not sure if he was just a frozen image because he
Oh,
was freaking still.
I thought
But
they were all real except the lady bending over when they got to the top, because to me that looked like a freeze frame image with just voiceover.
I would agree. That I'm the same.
I
I
think
thought they were
everything
all real
else was
except
a
for her.
real actor.
I didn't see anything on the making of this to go either way. So I guess it'll just be our perceptions. But either way, I really liked it. Uh, that little explanation with the old lady upstairs. It's like I
The
think the
bullet
bullet hit
went
her
through the
spinal
spine.
column.
Yeah, like I said, I have 2 notes for that. I'm like, "Okay, this is funny." And my other note was, "How does it fucking work?" Because I didn't know it was a parody yet.
That is something
Yeah.
also that threw me off slightly in this film was like who murdered, because that's the whole thing. It's a murder case, and the precision of shot in the forehead for all
Mhm.
these characters until later on when it's just a gun through the
The
curtains and whatnot,
reveal.
and they're not being shot in the forehead. Made me think that there were two different murderers.
Well, yes, because the guy in the curtain was a different person. The curtain guy was the guy who was bleeding out for 10 years. The French guy.
Okay.
Um, so yeah, he was as a. I guess there were two killers in that regards. That the girl did not
No.
kill the
When she killed the German at the very end, it
Golden
was
Gate
it was right in the
guy.
head.
Yeah. Well,
She was really good at aiming up until that point, apparently.
that is true. Well, we don't know how close she was to her other victims. Could have been point
Also
blank.
true.
Uh,
I like
Yes.
the use of handheld camera and steady still cam dolly camera throughout the film. The very beginning with the detectives coming into the building was all handheld, and then I went to still frames. So I like that.
Mhm.
It was well done too. It wasn't janky feeling. It felt smooth. It was
Yeah, they
very
did a good
smooth.
job with that, yeah.
Good job on the camera guy.
I think
Well done.
there was only one camera issue caught, and that was at the very, very beginning, and it didn't come up again.
Oh,
What was it?
Oh, when they're it's before the police even walk in to inspect the scene, we're panning across the crowd. You can briefly see the cameraman's shadow and reflection.
Oh,
It's very, very small, and
whoopsies.
like I said, if that was the only issue with that scene, and they did a very good job for the time period. So I'm like, I wrote that one off, but I just noted it down.
I didn't catch it. Nice.
Sprinks, that's your thing.
I
What are you
know.
doing?
I didn't
You're
catch.
slacking. um, no, we find out here that the victim that was intended was Floyd Merkel. He was just enjoying himself reading a newspaper and had to die there, I guess. Um,
Yeah, rip him.
yeah, and it's interesting that the elderly people got killed because by the end we do know who does all the killing. I wouldn't have thought she'd be that thorough to take them out,
Oh, she definitely isn't. But
That's
it's
yeah. That's something I'll
or would
touch
have
on
known
at
they
the
were
end.
even there.
To touch on my summary with the ratings, I'll touch on the end of something that about this movie that affects my score.
We get a lot of like I guess Chinese jokes in this, a lot more than I would have thought. We get the one fat Ching is the person who rented out the room from Pecan, China. Pecan, forget what the joke was. And we find out that Lou was having an affair with Floyd's wife.
Oh, Lou or Fred or
Yeah, Fred.
Lewis.
or
So,
Peppenpaugh.
oh, Peckinpaugh, yeah.
A lot of
Interesting
alibis, a lot
name.
of names. I
Yeah,
told
well,
Aliases.
yeah I told alias. Sorry, yeah. What did I say? Alibi.
You said alibi.
Sorry, aliases. Before recording and discussing, I told Crimson I am not gonna remember which dame is who in this movie. There are so many names.
There's a lot of
yeah,
names.
yeah. Yeah, I can only agree.
My notes are a freaking mess. Because I wrote them down every time she said one. So it's not like I have them in a list
I
compiled.
wrote
It's
down
all
the
over the
first
place.
4.
I
I wrote down the
remember.
first 4, and then I realized it was gonna be a continuous gag,
I
so
can
I
only
gave up.
remember one character's name because the name is a reference gag, which is Betty DeBoop.
Da-boop. Yeah, Betty Boop. All right, and then after the cops talk about that, we then get to see Lou getting called. See Lou.
Again, I had 2 notes here. Why the fuck is he aiming his gun at his phone?
Yeah,
And then the other one was, oh, he has a shot in his drawer. That's funny.
Yeah,
and
that
that's a
comes up.
running joke.
He just has
Yep,
drinks
that
in
that is
drawers.
that is the start of it. Yes, they are not just drinks; they're fully made like cocktails.
Plans
Even
ahead for
when he
every
goes
occasion.
like dry martini all over onion, it's already in it. He
Yeah.
didn't add it.
Well, no, the assumption is he had both in there. It's just
Oh,
pick the
okay.
one.
I guess that
It's
works. Yeah.
fully stocked. It's got everything you'd ever want.
Figure
But
on the inside.
yeah, the gun pointed at the phone. I immediately thought of Kung Fury when Hitler was shooting through the phone at the police
Oh,
station.
that's
I'm
a
like,
reference.
yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Interesting that the gun at the phone didn't really come back. I thought that was going to be something, but it wasn't.
Yeah. When that happened, that I think that's one of the scenes where I'm like, I have to go back. There's no way this is real. Like, I have to go rewatch this as a parody. That's when I made my decision.
It's not real. It's not. Uh, yes, Georgia calls him, and the police are very accommodating here and very forthcoming. They're listening,
Yeah,
and Georgia's dumb.
this is the other clue for me when all the police just leaned in comically. Oh, they're still here. I'm like, oh.
Yeah. When did the police leave? They haven't. They're still here. Did the police hear you say that? The police said yes. It's pretty good. Oh, I missed the line. As the Chinese say, never mind. That's that was funny.
Is that a common Chinese saying back in the 70s or 40s? I
I'm not
guess when this is
Chinese. I
taking
don't
place.
know. I'm gonna say no.
Considering it wasn't in Chinese and it was in English, I'm gonna go with no.
Yeah.
Safe assumption.
So then Lou goes to his office to meet her, and she's asleep.
Yeah, nodded off. Uh,
And you just assume she's dead.
Well, wouldn't you? I mean, she looked dead to me.
I would check. I would check a pulse.
Yeah, I did write that down. I'm like, why isn't he checking your pulse?
He's
And
just
then I just
rifling
went,
through her
oh,
Sees
bag.
death every day.
she's like, he's looking, turning out her pockets and looking for loose change. It's all you can do when they're dead. At
Yeah, I
least
know
all
that
dead.
bit. And his first instance with the taxi driver.
Yeah.
Mm, yeah,
Was it keep the
uh,
tip? No, I'll keep the tip.
yeah.
And that was also another running gag.
Or
I
taxi
was
driving.
I actually well, okay, that's spoilers, I guess, for later on. But I thought that was gonna have a specific payoff.
I mean, it
Do you
kind
think it
of
was the?
technically did.
Do you think it was the same cab driver? I think it was. I think it
Uh,
was a different one
It
each time.
I never checked
I
the
would
plate.
I would like to imagine it was the same one. Even though I know it's not because it went from yellow to red, I think halfway through the film.
Well, I mean, a cabbie can have a different vehicle.
Yeah, I was gonna say, are they
That's
stuck with
true.
the vehicle or do they just get whatever's
I
available?
I think it's a different one because
Most cabbies are stuck with their normal vehicle. Most
before
cabbies are
he
stuck with their
asks
vehicle,
if
but
you'd like some, money at the last one, the one before that he says death in the family, and the guy says I wish it was you. So he's already mad at him. I don't think he'd do him a favor.
yeah.
Yeah, that's why I'm inclined it's probably the same guy.
Oh, you
But
think
we
it's
know,
funny if it's the same guy doing that?
yeah, because why else would he be flustered with him if that's the first time he's driven him?
Oh, okay.
But I don't know. I don't think there's a definitive answer because you can't really see the driver in the vehicle. You just see him at the end there.
Okay. Something I found weird in this scene, and I don't know if it's a gag or just some kind of error. She she's in the chair talking, and then she stands up to talk to him, and then she's sitting back in the chair. But it's not naturally shown that she's getting up or sitting. Did anyone
Um,
else catch that?
I didn't notice that, but that is something I noticed throughout this where it's cut up and things are put in different places.
Yeah. Uh,
In the diner or restaurant, whatever it is.
you don't see him pull out his cigarette for that scene, but you see it lit at some
You
point.
hear it. You hear it when it goes back to blubber in that scene. You hear him lighting it, I think. If that's the scene you're talking about.
No, 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 no. I'm talking about where he's talking with the dead lady in his office.
Oh.
Uh, at the restaurant, I was talking about when um, Marlene was having her whole monologue to the Nazi. But I'll cover that more in detail when we get there. But
Yeah.
there's an apparent editing thing there. Yeah, we get introduced to. Uh, are we going to call her Sophie? We should probably establish what we're calling her here.
Whatever
I
you think.
called her Chameleon in my notes.
Chameleon works. Go with a classic
All right,
Spider-Man villain. Sure.
we'll go
Yeah.
with Chameleon. Chameleon lists off a whole bunch of names here, and he is not having any of it until he
Yeah,
kind of just gives up at the end. It's like, just give me something to go off of you.
just make up a name so I can go off of.
Yeah,
And she
what's your
comes up
real
with
name?
two, and he
Nah, it
slaps
doesn't
the
sound
table.
real. No,
Yeah.
make up a
Uh,
name.
Showed he was kind of smart when he went through three, I think, where he had evidence that it wasn't her real name, and then he knew the type of person
I
she was after that.
I think that particular gag would have been stronger if we had seen at least one of the props. Because he just lists off all the props and then we don't really see them. And I think we should have at least seen one of them.
Yeah, we could have seen the fudged um,
Handkerchief.
license.
I think
Yeah,
the handkerchief, the fudge license or the handkerchief were the two ones that I'm like, you should have at least shown us one of those. That way we know he's like not so like, show us one of them from his point of view, and then he just pulls the rest out in like our peripheral vision or whatever. So we know that he has them. We just don't necessarily need to see them. Because
yeah,
I get kind of annoyed, and I know it's a parody, but I do get kind of annoyed if I'm not able to follow along in a mystery. So it was kind of a confliction for me because I know they're going for the gag, but I think the gag would have been a bit stronger if we at least seen one of the props.
I will agree. This is not the easiest movie to follow.
No.
that's why I watched it a second time to cover any potential questions that might arise here. I didn't know how thorough you guys got this or not.
I I watched it with the pause button, but it was still very hard to follow.
I understood all the husband and the death and the everything with the widow and whatnot, that storyline. I didn't fully get the eggs.
Yeah, there were 3 storylines for this.
The
The
French
murder,
partisans,
yeah, the murder, the Tibetan treasure, and the papers for,
Yeah, the
the
papers.
Paul.
French partisans. I call them French partisans because I love my French
And
partisans.
also,
Anyways, sorry.
Crimson, remind me, Miss White, I'm just gonna call her Miss White, because she's in Clue. When she got thrown at the like the tail end of the movie with the cabbie and he delivers the gift for the eggs, is that the first instance she's in this movie, or is she before that?
Um,
The Neapolitan hair.
wait. The lady that was there for the eggs wanting to be beautiful and young,
Yes,
that's Chameleon.
that's
Yes.
That's Chameleon.
no,
Yep.
man. She
100%
blended right in.
Chameleon. You thought that was just some random character
I
they
thought that
threw
was
in at the
another
end?
added character.
No, that was Chameleon.
Oh, never mind then.
I don't know how that changes your view of that
Well,
any of that scene with
in
her,
that scene,
but
I wrote down, I'm like, oh, that's Mrs. White from Clue. I didn't recognize her in the other ones then.
that's funny.
It is.
Chameleon
Yeah.
got you good.
Yeah, she got me. I thought it was a different character.
What was her name on that scene? It doesn't matter. Oh well.
And then she's also the scene of
Norma
like
Shira.
trying to
Yeah,
be a sister, and then that it's
yeah,
still
she was
her.
trying to be her own
Yeah.
sister.
Okay. See, I
Yes,
knew
that
that
is
was the
all
same
her.
character as the first one, but the hair change really got me. Okay.
I wrote
They
it.
did their job.
I wrote it down as uh potentially new character, and then the detective kind of unmasked her at the end of it. So
Wow. I didn't think it was that hard to identify her.
no,
Look,
no, no. I
there's
know.
like
I mean, like
seven
I said,
ladies. There's so.
like I said, I thought, like I said, I thought she was. Like I said, I wrote it down as potential. I'm like, this is. I in my head, I was like, this is either the same character or it's actually her sister. But I obviously figured it out by the end.
Yeah,
She also in the conversation pretty much stated that she both peed and vomited in his office.
And put on his trench coat.
Oh, and oh, that's what the Pookie Pookie is. Gotcha.
Yes.
oh, yeah, I took Pookie Pookie as puke. Okay, that's wow. She did full service in his wardrobe room or whatever you
I
called it.
did. I definitely did snort when he's with the line of dialogue. I'm sorry I threw up in your filing room. No, that's just my wardrobe. It's fine.
He,
Uh,
he's very nonchalant.
that he
Uh,
is.
and her whole reasoning for being in here is she hired Floyd, the dead guy, to find her niece. I think. I think it was niece Caroline, and Lou took the case with equal pay. What we never find out what the pay was, but that was the agreement.
Certainly wasn't papers.
It was not papers. She goes under the name Diane Glutzman at the hotel she's staying at. Of course.
Alright, I think you guys might find this funny, so I'm gonna bring this up because I'm going through my notes, and I'm gonna take us back just a little bit to the phone call. Like, I'd rather not tell you until I know I can trust you.
Hmm.
So the whole conversation is like, "Can I meet in your office in 15 minutes?" And then he's like, "All right, what time is it now?" And she doesn't give him the time because she doesn't trust him. I
Yeah.
wrote down because again, I think this is right before I figured out where this is a parody. All right, I is am you stupid fuck. What is this? Humans are clearly incapable of having a conversation. That is
I
verbatim what I put in my notes.
that's pretty good. But Georgia is not very
And then I
smart.
went back and then I wrote down right beneath that. I'm like, should I keep the change? No, I'll keep the change. And that was to the taxi. There we go. There we go. Yeah, caught up. I figured you guys would enjoy that little note because I was a little angry at that.
Yeah, it was. I mean, at the time of not fully getting what you're watching, yeah, that makes sense.
Solid jokes. Uh, then we get him back at his place
With the
in,
widow.
G- yes, Georgia the widow, with her 10,000 life insurance money,
Yeah,
all ready to go.
this is a parody and a fantasy because that insurance company was amazing.
Yeah, I mean, they pointed out. Um,
Uh,
oh, I forgot to point out while they were Chameleon was in his office. Lou peeked out the window, and you got to see the child guy. I don't think they ever say his name.
they
The
I
don't.
just
boy.
arbitrarily called him Frankie. He called him Cranky at one point, so I just called him Frankie.
You know what?
Um,
Frankie's a good nickname because Frankie from Spy X Family is very
It
short and
didn't.
also is in the same fucking role.
I didn't recognize him, but I found out who that actor is, which is crazy. And oh, he's more of a composer, really. But that's the guy who wrote A Rainbow Connection for the Muppets.
Oh,
um, Did you want to sing it?
The Rainbow Connection?
Yeah,
Why are there so many songs about rainbows? What's on the other side?
I don't know if I've heard that.
You've never heard Rainbow Connection?
I don't
Ooh,
like
audience,
Muppets.
get him.
Get me. Come at me.
But yes, I forget
Uh,
his name, the actor's name, but he's composed a lot of pieces.
all right. Yeah, I didn't recognize him from anything, but I never did look him up. So, I don't know. The cops are present. They did kind of the same joke again,
he would just
but it
appear
was
out
still
of the.
funny.
Yeah.
Let's see. He points out her black outfit. He's only been dead for less than a day, and she's already got black on.
And there's
Sure.
a 24-hour widows for widows store, right? That's what they
Yes.
said. There.
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh,
Always open.
sorry to Paul Williams is his name.
Okay.
He played the voice of Penguin in the Batman animated adventures.
Oh, cool.
We get the cops talking about the time of death and everything. And how do you feel about talking downtown? We're already downtown. All right, that'll be fine then.
Oh yeah. I like the
We
joke
do
of
before
taking the body home and she didn't want to sleep with it.
You don't want to sleep with it.
before we go any further, we did skip over the next taxi. So Lou gets home and he's like, "Sorry, no tip. War veteran."
Yeah.
Oh, the war veteran. Yeah.
Scumbag. Uh, we're taxi driver. I'll say it each time it happens.
Yeah.
Happens
Even
four
at the
times, right?
end. Yeah, 4 times. Georgia was bringing up that Lou and Floyd fought over their cheating relationship with the gorilla photos,
Yeah, that was something.
which
What's the gorilla photos? I wrote that down. The gorilla costumes.
I don't know.
they
I'm assuming they just got kinky. That's
yeah, they
pretty much
did the
all I wrote it off.
nasty and gorilla outfits. That's what I got out of it.
Interesting.
And
70s
cops
humor.
were all right with it. I mean, I think that would fit some of today's stuff.
You sure the police didn't
Except
follow
today, they'd
you?
probably show it.
Oh,
Hmm?
maybe. I did
He's
write
like,
in
"You
my
sure the."
notes that. Sorry, writer. Uh,
No, no,
I
go ahead.
did write in my notes that when Lou is discussing like, he can't do it anymore because it's not cheating because he's dead and a problem. I wrote down, wow, Lou is into adultery, isn't he? He's got a thing for it.
Whole, Wholeheartedly into it.
Yeah,
I
I mean
mean,
it tells you in the opening crawl.
that's what were the exact words? That was that's funny.
He's like, it's to betray women without guilt or something like that.
Yeah. That's really tells you who he is. Well, I guess the
Yeah,
time frame because that's how they played it as. But I mean, he went after two married women in this that we know of.
He went after
Well,
he's got a.
several
I guess he
women.
has a kink. Yeah.
he gets a harem. Did I use that correctly?
Yeah, no, he has a harem. That is correctly used. I wrote it down in my notes too.
Heyo, you're converting me. It's unfortunate. I know the terminologies
Expanding your vocabulary.
in a negative fashion. Let's.
Well, even Jean has a
Uh,
harem in Person of Interest.
eh.
Haha.
So then Luz sends her on her way and gets a phone call.
Yeah, and yeah, he talks about how he's kind of on the case now to protect himself and whatnot
Yeah.
because he's a suspect. Then he gets a phone call from what's his name? It's said several times.
Stinky.
Damascus.
Damascus, yes. Cool name for not a cool character.
Eh, pretty much, yes.
You can find me by my cheap, strong-smelling perfume.
Yeah, it's the Rescue Rangers clone.
Well, we also have
It could
to
be.
we also have to touch on the police here, where they strongly question him, and then they just leave.
Yeah, they got all they needed.
It was funny. I was
Obviously,
just
women.
pointing it out.
And during this, or I guess after this phone call, he smells the phone because he could
Yeah,
smell the perfume through it.
that was funny to me as well. Yes,
What a pig
Was
snort laugh he has.
it's a unique one.
that's true.
Yeah.
Can't even do it right.
You sure the police didn't
Testing.
follow you? I'm positive they came with me. Definitely our last date tonight, Georgia.
I mean, it's amazing she got away with it for as long as she did. Spoilers.
It's true.
She didn't.
Spoilers. We're covering the whole movie.
Spoilers.
We already
We
talked about
avoided
the
it this whole
ending.
time.
Don't call me darling in front of the police with a dead husband. I'm sorry, I'm just reading off the quotes I wrote down because they're funny.
How do you feel about $500?
It's an
I'm
expensive
interested.
restaurant.
Yeah, it's an expensive restaurant. Good. A nice subversion joke. I wasn't expecting that.
It's true.
I don't know. So a lot
And
of
then,
funny, stupid jokes in this because that's what they
yeah,
are. They're stupid jokes, but they're funny.
yeah. Uh, and then, well, everyone in this call is victim to my memes with whenever the Nazis show up in. I'm sorry, the villains of World War II show up in our
There you
media.
go. YouTube, we're good. Don't isolate those words.
So yeah, and everyone's I meme about whenever they show up, and so our group fell again once again victim to them because the villains of World War II show up.
And pretty good outfits.
It's giving me Indiana Jones feelings. Being in this like
Who
dimly lit restaurant with,
Yeah.
who
Germans
else heard George Lucas? I heard George
looking for
Lucas.
treasure. And
Where's the monkey? I don't.
where's what was it? The staff of Ra? Was that what they were?
No.
I forget who. It's not Ra. Who? What was the staff in
It's,
uh,
I don't
Raiders?
remember.
I don't remember the staff had a name. It's been a while since I've seen it, so maybe they did.
We'll go with Staff of Raw. I don't think that's it, but
I don't think that's
I
it.
don't remember.
Staff of Kings is a video game of Indiana Jones, and it's not that either. But
I guess we'll jump into
the
the
restaurant.
restaurant now. And, we see Tinker. Interesting name. That one's also a reference, apparently, to something that I don't remember. I think it was also a baseball thing.
Oh.
The piano player.
Yeah, yeah.
Miss Betty DeBoop, we are introduced
Oh,
to.
that's a reference. That's an easy one, but
It's
Uh, and
great
we
song.
yeah,
I
lots of
wrote.
she lawed very hard.
I
Okay?
wrote in my notes, my kind of restaurant entertainment.
That's true. You would totally be for that.
It came in no lyrics. You're just la 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 la.
And then
And
she
then
gets
La
everyone
la
in
la
on it.
la la.
interactive. I'm like, that's great.
She conducts his
Men. La. The men were louder than the women. Crazy.
Well,
They were into
some
it.
men did the woman's part too.
That's true.
Well, it's funny
Uh,
because he's one of the villains of World War II. He didn't know his gender. He was ahead of his time. That's why he's not in Germany. He was gonna get, sorry, did I make it dark?
no, it's all good here. And she's glad that Fred showed up, and he doesn't know who she is, and his name's not Fred.
Name's Lau, and we never met. Let's not get into a sweat over details, I think is what she says.
Yeah.
Yes. Since you're so interested, writer, do you want to talk about the Nazi stuff?
Yeah, absolutely, of course. Villains of World War II.
Sorry, I already screwed it up.
Um, yeah, the lead villain of World War II has a monocle, which is hilarious because it was why wouldn't they? It's the fucking villains of World War II.
Evil.
Yeah. um his full name is Colonel Prince Count Baron von Schnisseldorf. And
I can't believe you wrote that down. I didn't bother
yep,
doing it.
I did because I thought it was funny. Whenever they're making, I'm a history geek, so whenever they are making history jokes, I find them funny. So, uh, the restaurant happens to work for the French undergrounds. As far I understood that right, they work for the French underground or with the French underground.
Oh, shoot, what was the guy who was bleeding for 10 years' name? I don't remember his name.
I don't know.
That guy. He he is, and the uh, Paul.
His second butler or whatever is as well.
Yeah, and Paul and would you
Duchard.
call her Mrs. No, Mrs. What was it? Whatever. The Dushots
Yeah,
want to make an underground 2-star restaurant.
yeah.
So
So they
I don't know
can
if this place is underground, but at least those two are.
the host, it seems, for the
Yeah,
restaurant is working for the underground as well. The Nazi, the villains of World War II are here to stop them from the exchange, pretty much, because their French partisans are here to pick up their restaurant rights, pretty much their
their
papers.
license and lease or something.
Yeah, their restaurant license and lease, liquor license is what it was, and then their lease for the restaurant. Um, and I think well, what do you want me to talk about specifically? I could go through the whole thing, or
Eh, feel free. I don't know. I've been doing a lot
uh,
of the scene by scene stuff,
okay,
talking
yeah,
more than you guys. So this
all
would
right,
be a good little you segment.
okay, yeah, I'll take it over. Then I actually want to talk about the beginning where I read my my quote, which is from them first walking into the restaurant,
Mhm.
but the host actually gets it back like immediately really good in a very wordplay way. He responds and calls them a French monsieur. He responds in French after he insults the French army. And I actually thought was really good because you can see how satisfied the host and angry he is and how insulted the Germans are. And I think that was clever wordplay. I really appreciated that. Nice bilingual wordplay. They do that, I think, one more time in the movie. Um, and then so the what else? So the Germans take their seat at the center table, for world domination. Is that what they called it? The world dominating table.
Yes.
Um, and then the host is pretty much frantically trying to get the French partisans, the Duchards, their lease and liquor license, under the nose of the Nazis. I mean, villains of World War II. And then they I'm gonna skip ahead because I'm gonna skip some of the Laosians just to kind of get the whole World War II
Hmm.
referencing stuff done. They all go into the restroom. We hear gunshots go off. Everyone walks out perfectly fine except uh, the husband Duchard, Paul, has toilet paper wrapped around his hand because they smashed the toilet seat on him. And then they make it, and the Germans make off with the papers because they jumped them in the bathroom.
PayPal's.
The papers, and then they all sit down, and then the two nobodies that arrived to deliver the papers just keel over and die because they were shot.
That is my
And that
favorite
was
joke
a
in the movie.
problem. That was your favorite joke?
That was my favorite joke in the movie.
Okay, I
Of
guess talk about it.
of I don't know her name. I'm gonna call her the White Swan because that was her code
Yeah.
name.
Oh yeah, the
I
silver
have
fox, the white
the
swan,
black fox, silver wolf,
the silver
gray
wolf.
rabbit, blue chipmunk, and white swan.
Yes, I did write down all the nicknames too. I thought they were funny.
So when the white swan went, but the gunshots, are you okay? And the two nobodies just go, no, madam, it was us, and fall over dead. I thought that was so funny.
Yep.
It was good, but unfortunately, it breaks a rule that they established that dead people freeze. So they shouldn't
Dead
have
Yeah.
people who
done that.
get
No, no, no,
shot,
no.
no, dead people who
Dead,
get shot by
a
the
silencer.
widow freeze.
No, dead people get shot by
Mm.
the silencer. Her special gun is what freezes
Yes,
them. There is an explicit line of dialogue for that.
because Crimson, you said earlier when the guy in the curtain, the guy who's been bleeding for
Yeah,
10 years, shoots the guy in the wheelchair. He doesn't freeze.
yeah, that
He
was another
comments
problem
and
here. So, okay, it's the silencer gun that does it. Okay, well, that fixes
Yeah.
that problem for me then.
I just think it
Yeah.
was so
So
funny. They came out, they were walking normal, they sit
yeah,
down, still alive.
it was
No, it was
normal, and
us.
they just fucking
Boom.
fall over. They just fall over dead. I definitely laughed a lot.
Good. Well, I'm glad this movie's got some laughs out. I didn't know if you guys wouldn't like this humor. I don't know.
A little
Um,
earlier when Lou is having his one-on-one talk with the stinky dude,
Damascus.
uh, what was it, I guess a waiter, or whatever, comes over and starts talking to him, and Lou can't hear him through the beads, so he like opens it up to hear him. That was a funny gag.
Yeah, and he pays him off to tell him so he doesn't have to enter the room and smell it.
yep, it was funny.
Um,
Yeah, I'll take actually since you kind of brought it up, Crimson. I'll talk a little bit about the humor. The humor in here is definitely the period piece. Like it's definitely from its time period. So, um, I wasn't dying of laughter a lot, but I still recognize the quality of all the jokes, even though it's not my kind of humor. So, just if audience, if you're listening to the podcast before you go see the movie, just know what you're getting into. It's definitely very dated humor, but that doesn't mean it's bad. It's just it's of its time period.
mhm.
Definitely Mel
And
Brooks, airplane feel.
yeah, a
Yep.
little bit. I compared it a little bit to like British humor, a little bit.
Uh,
Uh,
I get
well,
you.
at least with a lot
Yeah,
of the British stuff that Sinister
Crimson,
has
you're
shown me.
leaning more on humor of Monty Python, and I'm seeing
Well, that or the Mighty Boosh. There's
I'm
some
getting
British
more
stuff.
like Blazing Saddles.
Yeah, I mean, I see that as well. I don't see those as too different. One's a little bit more out there than the other. And that is true.
Well, then again, one is more on the physical comedy, and one's more on the dialogue. And this movie, to me, definitely leans far more on the dialogue.
Yeah, lots of good wordplay here. So,
And then we just talked about a scene where it isn't about words; it's about them collapsing on the table.
I
yep.
like the physical humor. Okay,
Well, I'm not bashing you. I'm just saying that
I'm
this movie has both. Yeah. But it is more words. I agree. Um, Marlene. Uh, okay, what was White Rabbit, right? It's going to be easier just to
White
call her that.
Swan.
White Swan.
White Swan. Rabbit was the other guy. Gray Rabbit. Um, yes, the
Uh,
White Swan. I'll just refer to her as that from here on out. Um, her introduction with Paul and how the bullet's still in his head is interesting. I found it a little amusing. Wasn't laugh out loud, but it's funny. Her character is very weird. She, she the way she delivers her lines throughout this is funny to me because I don't think I've seen characters like that where she sounds like a promotional ad whenever she talks.
It Yes, it did remind me of one character, which is definitely not so much satire, but more in the drama realm. It reminded me of I forget the actress's name or really her first name in the movie, but in the Truman Show, Truman's wife.
Oh, Mhm,
where half of the words she says is a promotional ad for a camera, and it
Mhm.
kind of felt like that a little with her.
yeah, her whole patriotic speech to the bad guys from World War
It's
II was pretty solid in the way she delivered it. That was the part where I think the editing was not good because she had the little monologue there, and then the what was the name, Schlopsel or something? uh,
Schnitzel.
Prince,
Schn-
Colonel
Schneasel,
Schnitzel.
Schnitzel. I'll just call him Schnitzel. It's
rada
easier for
rada.
me.
Yeah,
Uh,
sure.
Schnitzel is like, "Here's Mr. Boop." She says hi, and then it cuts back to White Swan monologuing, and you can tell they just cut the monologue in two, put the hello in the middle, and it even cuts her off too. So that the editing there was very poor.
It took me a bit to recognize who the White Swan was, but she's Kai Wynn from Deep Space Nine.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Ah, I haven't seen it. I don't know.
Yeah, that was more for
She
Crimson
tacked
because
on a little bit, a few pounds for Deep Space on that,
and I think she got another 20 years on her belt too.
and that. uh, yeah, okay, that explains where I knew her from.
Yeah, I knew her
Uh,
because of the voice. I'm like, the voice is killing me. And this is like,
yeah, very different character.
oh yeah,
So I guess we'll go to Pepe at Damascus. Haven't talked about them too much. Um, and he brought up how Chameleon was lying and she's looking for an object, and he wants to hire Lou to find the object, and that the Blubber guy, yeah, Blubber, is
Jasper
also
Blubber.
interested. So there's that interaction. I don't know if anyone has anything to comment on that.
That part.
Yeah.
n-
The only thing
Oh,
I the only thing I had to add is that the Cincinnati have their own Gestapo. So the Duchards would open, as you said, their specific reason for opening the two-star restaurant is so that all the French people could gather and listen to the war on the radio
Yeah, all three of them is
under the
started.
nose of the Cincinnati Gestapo.
Uh, Springs, did you have anything?
well, not exact. I have something else, but I don't know if it's before or after White Swan slaps Lou. I have written in a line that says, "Here, take mine," and I don't know if that was lighting a cigarette or something.
No,
No, that's
Lau is
the
handing over the
music sheet.
music.
The
Yeah.
The
music sheet.
burnt out, like, terrible looking music
Okay,
sheet.
okay, that was it. Here, take mine. Music sheet, and then the music cuts so abruptly in editing.
Yes.
Yes.
I didn't like that.
There's a few times where just the editing is very abrupt like that. I'm just going to contribute it to it was a film back then, so they probably just miscut it and they couldn't fix it or something. I don't know. Eh,
Yeah.
For the
but
70s?
it's a problem.
Guess so. Hmm.
I thought, I thought the gag of the Germans trying to smuggle in German chocolate was kinda funny.
It's better than Hershey's.
Opinionated.
Um, I mean, have you had German chocolate from 1940? I haven't.
1940? No, I have not.
Well, we can't say. I would love to have a Hershey bar from 1940.
I
That'd
would
be that
not.
would totally taste different. You kill me.
I mean,
Uh,
if they were baked fresh with the ingredients they were made back then, absolutely, 100%, I would be down to taste test.
that would be cool. There's got to be any recipe somewhere,
Yeah, it's probably
right?
got cocaine in it or something.
That isn't in their default. And this isn't Coca-Cola. Okay. Um, no, Hershey actually had did have drugs in it, so I think.
Did it
Yeah,
Then I'm
Lau
not
was
too far
forced to
off
s
now, am I?
it's true.
Lau was
It
forced to
sparked a
swallow
memory.
yeah, Lau was forced to swallow gum when, he got bitch slapped.
Yes, you made me swallow my gum. I can't do his
Yeah.
voice.
I
It's a unique
I
voice.
that reminded me of Scott Pilgrim just because
It's gonna be
that's
in my
that's
Digestive
digestive tract for
tract.
7 years.
yeah, that's the most intense line of like, "You made me swallow my gums." Props to that actor.
You know
Delivered that
how
line.
long Lou has been looking for those papers? Like 2 hours.
2 hours. Um,
Um, a good line with Pepe is, "How do you stand being around yourself?" Thought that was funny. That could be like a meme right there. Just use that anywhere. Great.
yeah, I'll add it to my collection for the meme archives.
Uh,
uh,
he can't even be
oh,
at a hotel overnight before they kick him out for smelling.
okay.
Oh, that's
This
true.
is
I thought that
very.
would
This is.
play later on as like looking for him kind of thing, like a detective case, but didn't get played that way.
I thought this was a very, very layered joke where Paul was a natural mistake, Monsieur. My wife is mistaken for many dead girls.
Hmm.
I thought this was a reference to other people recognizing her and constantly coming up to her because they recognize that she slept with them.
That is how I read it.
That is how I read it, and I'm like, wow, that's fucking hilarious. And then there's obviously the insult attached to it as well, like on the surface where she was compared to dead girls.
Yes, that was also present.
Um, and I like it, and the only reason I like it is because I think it's one of the reasons I like it is because evidently, like Lau, she gets around.
There, gentlemen, goes a brave, beautiful, and extremely boring young woman. Should have done that with an accent. Darn it. The French have fallen.
I forgot Paris got conquered in this scene. That's
Yeah, and
funny.
then they have what I only wrote down as a roof off, which is like a Pitch Perfect reference, but it was just singing, and then the French are
Uh,
singing, and then Lou and
yeah. So the to kind of clarify for some more bilingual fun, the Germans are singing their national anthem, which the French interrupt with their national anthem, and
Mhm.
which Lau and Betty DeBoop diffuse with their just interjection of random shit.
no, it's their American national anthem.
I don't think so.
It's a joke on
But
Americans.
yeah, uh, their song was superior to the national anthem. Still, say that. How little it was.
Yeah.
Uh,
Last
my
thing I
notes.
have for the restaurant is I think the last thing I think it was White Swan says it, but she basically references and parodies a Casablanca line
Oh yeah.
of all the gin
Absolutely.
joints.
Oh
Of
yeah,
all the
she
cheap
she
gin
does a
joints of all the world, I would pick him.
yeah. I think she's a lot of noir tropes put into one character. That's definitely one. It's a cliche line.
Uh, that's I sorry. I'm reading up for the next. I'm reading my notes for the next scene in order to prepare.
Uh, I'm pretty much done with the restaurant, so if you want to say your piece there.
All right. We find out in the next scene that the French partisans come to him for help because they need to get their papers back by any means. We found out here Lau is using rented bullets. They
Yeah,
all have problems.
he's, he's so poor. He rents bullets. Does he
Uh,
dig them out? I don't know.
that to me was very funny.
Yeah, it's a very quick line. I missed it the first time, and then when I rewatched, it, like, oh, that's pretty funny. Uh, iPad turned off for a moment. So yeah, we're back at Marcel. That's what his name was, the bleeding out guy. Ugh, I finally found his name.
Michelle.
Marcel. Marcel. Marcel
Well,
and
yeah.
Paul.
The villains of World War II say his name at the very beginning.
They do. I just didn't have it
When
written down.
oh okay, fair enough.
Uh, yeah. So we come there to plead for Lou to get the papers. And they offer a very rare and expensive watch that they have plenty of.
Yeah, I think they're
Uh,
all from the president.
every single one, each unique, with a weird sound bite in it or song.
It is. Correct me if I'm wrong, but the one that he offers up that Lou doesn't take is the one he uses at the very end when they're at the dock.
Yes, it is.
Okay,
There's some continuity
so it's
there.
the same one. Okay.
We get to see him pull juice out of a drawer to continue that gag.
Because it's alcohol, I just assumed that it was orange juice mixed with wine. I don't remember the name of the drink. But that
Oh,
is a breakfast mimosa.
mimo-
It's morning mimosa.
that's champagne, orange juice and
Yeah.
champagne.
Yes. Sorry. Orange juice and champagne. I assumed that was a mimosa he pulled out because of the alcohol gags.
Mm. Um, yeah, I'm not into alcohol, so you guys would know more than I. I just put juice.
Yes. Uh,
Let's see. I think this is where we get Jasper calling
let's see.
Blubber.
Before we move on, I'm just looking through my.
What's it?
Okay.
Marcel
Yeah, I got one
bets on the
more.
French or
I,
something.
I got one more note for
Yeah,
Slinky.
8 to 5
Actually, Dupe.
odds. Yeah,
Yeah, I
for,
got one more. Yeah, I got one more note for Betty to Boop, which was you know how to dial, don't you? You put your finger in the little round hole, and I went nice innuendo.
what's it nice? It was very, very obvious. And
Oh yeah,
damn,
I thought it was definitely a forced innuendo, but it made me smirk. Okay, this is
yeah, you do you. It's all right. Um, yeah, Jasper Blubber calls wanting a meeting because everyone just calls Lou all the time. Everyone's got his number.
I'm
I have
assuming
Uh,
he's a detective in the phone book. It's just
I have a
well,
question
I'm
that
sure he's reachable. Yeah.
I'm sure it's probably a reference, maybe, but because the camera shows it multiple times in angles. But Lou's robe he's wearing says Golden Glove. Is that connected to anything?
I didn't
anything
see
that I
anything
would
when I was
recognize.
looking at
No,
facts. Um,
Okay. I don't
but
know if
it
that's
probably
like
is.
trying
I
to
just
parry
didn't
off
see
of
it
something
anywhere.
from Rocky or something. I'm guessing Rocky was before this, but
Was
it
it?
could be
I
any
don't
number of
remember.
things. There's a lot of things that this is.
okay,
But it's possible. Could even be referencing Daredevil. I don't know.
could be.
Uh, yeah, and apparently he's going to be easily identifiable because he's sitting in two booths um, near the entrance or whatever. Even though he was not sitting in two booths, so he lied on the phone.
I don't remember him
Uh,
saying that. I remember him saying that you will recognize me because I'm a very large man.
and and he's going to be sitting in two booths.
All right, I maybe missed the end then because I didn't hear that.
Uh, that's yeah, and we get the boop uh, getting a ticket to go to Africa because Lou can't commit, as she put it. And I thought that was going to be the end of her, but it was
Oh, it's
not.
not.
It is not. We can't
Also,
let any of these women go.
no, all these women exceptionally good at lock picking, or they
Yes,
just
He
all
just
have
leaves it
keys.
unlocked,
Or yeah,
or that.
I was half tempted to start naming them Yandere to Sundere, just going down the fucking usual harem list of names, archetypes.
Okay, I was gonna say I don't know what you're saying.
Yeah, I know.
Now I got you. Anime.
Yes.
so Lou goes to the restaurant
Uh,
or the next restaurant.
yes,
The Saint was it Saint John's Bar?
it sounds right. I didn't
Saint
write it down.
John's
Who you calling blubber?
Divine. Oh, that to me was a real remember of X-Men Origins Wolverine, of who you call him Blob.
The blah. Uh, yeah, I can kind of see that. Yeah, and that was a lot of big dudes in there.
Yeah.
Lots of
So
big
of course he
dudes.
got thrown out.
Yeah, and Frankie, as I named him, he enjoyed it. He liked it. I don't know what Frankie's deal is. I don't know why he hates Lou so much at
Called
this
him
point.
called him a kid.
He definitely hates him later.
Lou calls a lot of people kids, but
He
called
does.
him specifically a kid.
It's just what people say in the 40s. Kid, boy.
Here's looking at you, kid.
Oh, is that the
Oh,
reference? That's another
Uh,
Casablanca reference.
maybe. And then Blubber is at the table, and we get one gin sling uh, to come over to get a brandy for Lou, but that's not how it goes. His name was
his name is
Brandy.
Brandy. That's funny. And that was That was good. I liked it.
I never heard of a gin sling before. So
Well, you
I want to
just
try
said
interesting.
it now.
earlier that you're not that into alcohol, so
That is fact. That is
Yeah,
something I say.
I wrote the drink down as to my I need to try this list.
Oh, there you go. What about you, Sprinks? Is that on your list?
I don't have a list, but sure, I'll try it.
There you go. And here we get to find out what the item everyone is going after is. And it's
Lots of
got an
diamonds.
interesting backstory behind it. Ryder, you want to talk about that part? I'm
Uh,
sure you wrote a
I
lot of it down.
I wrote none of it down actually.
Of course. All right, then I guess I'll continue it.
I was focusing more on the anagrams.
Did
Sorry.
you solve it?
No.
Yeah, I don't think anyone would.
No, Vladimir did not come to
To be fair,
mind.
I didn't try to solve it, so there is that.
What do I look like? A secretary?
In
After a lucky night.
1853, 12 Albanian fishermen conquered China, Tibet, and Mongolia. Ah, I never knew that because you don't know your history. I
Okay,
don't remember
yeah. The reason I didn't write it down is like I don't. That was so nonsensical. I didn't write it down.
that.
Fuck. What? Say that again.
In 1853, 12 Albanian fishermen conquered China, Tibet, and Mongolia. Awesome. And then they got the 12 diamonds.
I wonder. I wonder if it's a reference to the spread of Christianity.
I don't know. It went over my head if it was
I
something
don't
like
know.
that.
I know it's done for a gag.
Doesn't
I'm
resonate
thinking too
with me.
deeply. It was funny.
Yeah. So there was 12 diamonds, shape of eggs, something along those lines. That was turned into a necklace by an old fat French woman, and they disappeared with her. So this guy's been searching for 16 years. 16 years he's been looking. 7 years he's been trying to unscramble the Vladimir anagram. I didn't write down the whole name. I just wrote Vladimir.
I just wrote down Russian, so you did more than I did.
Oh, nice. And I don't remember why he got the Vladimir anagram. Do you guys recall how he got that information?
Oh yeah, you mean Jasper Blubber?
Yeah, how Blubber got
Uh,
the anagram.
I
I don't remember.
don't think he knows the murderer uses anagrams to disguise his name, and that was the name that he used.
Oh,
So
okay.
he was just he
I
uses
got
the anagrams of his
it.
name
It was
to
a calling card thing. Okay.
yes.
Uh, so Lou took it thinking he could do something with it.
Hmm. And then we are introduced to his secretary, who he just hands it off to.
Yeah. Yeah. He's been saving her for a rainy day.
Yep. And that
Yeah.
rainy day is now.
So not past today. Oof. Let's see. Chameleon is waiting for him, but as the chameleon's sister, which
Mhm.
he sees through pretty darn quickly.
Yep.
I wrote down
I'm
a wild
surprised.
twist that she said she married her father.
And this is where I put down, "Wow, parody of Chinatown continues." Because that is a plot point in
I
Chinatown.
need to see
Spoiler alert for
Chinatown. I
Chinatown.
haven't seen it. I've seen Big Trouble in Little China. Pretty sure
No,
that's
probably
different.
way different movie.
Yeah. I think he insults her hair and tells her to wash it out. Gets what he's just like, "Do you need money to go wash it out?"
Yeah, the bad dye job.
Yeah.
And she pointed out how he's just mad at her for the Pookie Pookie or whatever.
Yep.
And I guess so. I don't know. We don't really get to see his wardrobe room after she was done with it, thankfully.
Yep.
The secretary, well, what was Chameleon here for? It wasn't the father thing, it was something else. Well, right?
Was to pose as another person to get what she wanted.
Yeah. She was looking for a missing person, her husband, her father, which I'm assuming in In the context of this scene, she meant to imply Jasper Blubber.
Oh, no, 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 that's right. She was looking for her father, husband, whose name was Vladimir. She was pushing him in that direction
Right,
to
right,
find
right, right.
Vladimir. That's
Oh
right.
yeah.
Boom. And then, like, they're all working together to try to get him to find the treasure. So there we go. So she's there to get him to look at Vladimir closer, even though he was just told by Blubber about Vladimir. So that was her reasoning for being there. Not too much. The assistant says that someone broke into Lou's house. So he heads off. And Marlene is in there. Uh, Sprinks, do you want to talk about
This
anything here?
this is an interesting scene. Of First off, it doesn't show, but who got in the who got there first? Do they know the other ones are there? Are they all working together? How thick are these doors to not hear conversations? It brought up a lot of questions to me. And the most I could just play it off as is it's a parody and a gag.
That's exactly what it is.
That's exactly what it
Yeah.
is.
I don't think there's any practicality to it.
I know Sinister has this line he likes to use in a description for people of for Steve Buscemi and calling people you got those Buscemi blue eyes. I
Mhm.
think a follow up to this is you got bedroom eyes and dining room lips. I think
Yeah,
it,
it's
it
a
was
unique
such a
one.
descriptive thing to say to someone, and I don't have any idea what it means. Bedroom eyes, I think, might be an innuendo. I think I get kind of that, but dining room
Lustfulness.
lips,
Yeah.
I don't know what that means.
That you're hungry for something,
Is that what that
maybe?
means?
I don't know. I'm trying to associate
What
because
did you?
you eat in the dining room, so maybe because you're hungry for something.
Hungry for some bedroom eyes?
No,
Yeah,
your lips are tasty, guys. Come on.
it could be it
Is that what
too.
that means?
That's what
Mm.
that means.
I doubt it's a real
Then again, I
expression.
have read romance, so I guess I would be more familiar
Hungry
with that.
for a
Is that something
kiss.
that comes up?
Ah.
Dining
Uh,
room lips?
yes, but people talk about the taste of lips all the time in writing. Whatever flavor lipstick a woman has to be wearing, you taste that, or it's in that vein usually. So that's where I took it.
I'd like to know a whole house layout of a description of a human being. That'd be funny. You got a real bathroom mouth. Or you got a
I'm
Got a
sure.
real
I'm
potty
sure that
mouth.
exists. I can probably pull up. I
yeah.
can actually probably pull up descriptions for you. I'm sure that exists already.
Bound to. In fact, it's probably an anime.
What a
Someone
garage
shrinks down
hairdo
and
or
has to
something.
describe
I don't
everything.
I mean, I've compared.
Garage.
I compared the brain to spaceships before in my work, so I'm not. They wouldn't be too surprised.
Lou keeps bringing up to the White Swan their past, and she keeps saying, "No, please stop. No, don't remind me," because she left him hanging. Um, or wherever I don't remember the location, but she left him hanging.
Also, did they get married? Because he talks about honeymoon.
I guess so. I guess so. I don't know because I did acknowledge that. I guess they had to.
He's like, the bread and cheese is probably stale, but the champagne.
Yeah.
I think they
Simple
were
champagne.
planning to get married because you can still plan your honeymoon without necessarily having to get married. You could be planning to get married, have not gotten married, but you were also planning your honeymoon. So
Guess that's true. They could be engaged.
They were certainly engaged. Say that.
yes, for sure. At least that far.
And then it's hi ho, hi ho. It's
Yeah,
off
that
to work
was
we go.
this little throw in.
I don't really remember the context of why he said that, but it was there.
I don't know, probably just a silly little thing to say. Something I
You
caught before he goes.
isn't it the same? Sorry, isn't it the same song that he was starting to jokingly sing to her in the restaurant?
Was it?
Yeah, I assume it was like their quote unquote their honeymoon song or whatever, like what they were gonna get married to, their favorite song. They danced together. I assume that's why it was brought up.
Oh, I only
I
remember
don't
hearing
know.
it here and then when he's in the kitchen.
Mm,
But if you brought
that
it
could
up
be another.
earlier, I did not catch it.
I don't know. Can't say on that one.
Okay. No, I can't confirm it either. So
I
Springs, you're about to
Yeah,
say
I
something?
don't know if it's a wise, clever placement for some reason, and I'm taking it as it is, and me being me, I could just be overthinking and whatnot. But when he's going to the kitchen and he says he feels as happy as a schoolboy, there's a calendar of sorts or something that says
Tom
Tom
and
and
Jerry.
Jerry's Diner, and I didn't know if Tom and Jerry was like to connect to feeling younger.
Um, Um, I'm going to say you're looking into it because that was there for more than just this scene. Um, I don't know. Can't say one way or another. I think you're looking into it a little
Oh,
much though,
okay.
and we
because
are
it's not like
introduced.
it's the Tom and Jerry cartoon. It's just the
Yeah,
calendar.
and we are introduced to our first lady that snuck in, or I was clearly already there before Marlene arrived.
Yes, the boop.
You'll be back.
And,
What makes you think so? You'll forgot the glasses.
and now he won't come back. Dumb move.
But he does come back.
He does, but not for the drinks. Um, I found it amusing how she's like, "Oh, I missed it, but it doesn't happen till tomorrow." Oh, I
Oh,
missed it earlier.
yeah, I
Something
did
like
write that
that.
down. I missed it a little early.
That's funny. Missed
No
it a
intention
little
of
early.
catching it. Uh, I also, I guess, kind of one of the funny notes to me was Marlene was already redecorating the apartment.
Oh yeah,
Like she
I'll
moved
go
his
get you some
chair, planning.
wallpapers.
Yeah, she plans on the wallpapers, and she's already moved his chair when he returns from the kitchen with a drink.
She knows she can manipulate him, and she
Yep,
almost did until she slipped up.
yep.
Uh,
And he breaks his bottle, not the no. So he breaks the glass, not the
the
bottle.
glass.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Was it something I
W-
said? No, not at all. Couldn't be. No way.
You could tell that the glass wasn't super clear because it was a sugar glass.
Yeah,
So there's that. Before that, wait, he brought up how I didn't even remember what you looked like. All I had was your right ear and your three front teeth on the bottom. That's interesting. You
Selective
deleted
memory.
everything except that. Yeah.
that's weird.
Sprinks, I've seen you a lot, and I can't even picture what your ear looks like. Okay,
My ear?
I can't picture your ear.
That's real weird.
Can you picture my ear?
Your ear? I'd say it's.
Just a generic ear.
I'd say it's pretty close to a laundry room ear.
Laundry room ear. Okay, okay.
Laundry mirror. I got more of a closet here. I mean,
Closet.
Well,
Upstairs or
bedroom closet or hallway
downstairs?
closet?
Yeah.
no, no. I mean staircase closet. You know the ones that are like in the
Staircase.
staircase.
Oh, halfway
The
up.
Harry Potter ear. Yeah.
Oh, what the hell was that? Yeah, that sounds a lot smarter than what the heck I was thinking. He said stairway closet, and I'm like, oh yeah, you go halfway up the flight of stairs, and then there's a closet, and then you go up the other half.
I've never seen that before. Halfway up the stairs is just a random closet.
Yeah,
Oh.
Don't be an architect. So that's pretty good. Uh, she couldn't remember the letter she wrote him because it conveniently got washed away by the rain. She remembered it very detailed until
yeah.
her
And then he
leaving.
asks, "You don't keep copies?
Yeah.
Copies of yeah, I wrote it 3 extra times." Like,
The only copy I keep is in my heart.
Yeah, that to me was a bit funny. It's like, no, why would I? um, and Georgia also is here after
Yes.
the. I think it's after the wine glass breaking, right?
when he goes to the
Yeah.
bathroom. Well,
Yeah.
no, first he knocks his head against the wall, and she says, "Come in."
Yeah, that's another funny little on the surface gag.
I need to get an aspirin. I'm going to the bathroom.
And I think this brings up my favorite shot in the movie where he opens the door and it's over the shoulder and you see her in there, but you can see the expression on his face in the bathroom mirror.
Yes, that was a good shot. I like that
I
shot.
didn't look at the mirror. I'll have to look at that. I was just looking at her disapproving face.
Oh, she's
Well,
glaring
no,
at him.
there's another woman here. Who's that?
And she's here to deliver their mutual husband friend, the dead man from the
Yeah,
very
Poor
beginning.
Floyd. The
Yep.
disrespect on Floyd
No
is
point crying over spilled husband.
palpable. That is a
Blush.
line that was said. That's an
Yes.
awesome line. Out of context, people would be like, "What the heck are you on about?"
And
Um,
she tries to blackmail him.
she she threatens to get him arrested.
She's got a gun. Yeah, she's got.
Yeah,
Which I
You know
think
what?
is the second instance,
She's a
but
little
yeah.
crazy.
just a little.
A
She's the
little
Andre of the
crazy.
group.
Spoiler, she's the murderer. So,
Yeah.
also,
Well,
it was it this scene? It might have been this scene or something, like, just how attached she is. This is when my first thought was, she killed her husband. But I didn't piece together that she was the overall murderer of everything. Just on, she could have killed her husband, yeah.
Yeah. This is where she is the quintessential yandere archetype, which is possessive to point of violence. The point of violence, and I'm like, yeah, that fits. This is also where I also wrote down that he is officially a harem anime protagonist because I can start labeling the archetypes of all the women in the house
mm,
with him.
I think the first time I saw this, I didn't even bother to try to figure out the mystery because I thought it would be nonsensical with this type of parody.
Yes,
But
I did
having
not
seen
bother
it, I
trying to
mean,
figure out the mystery.
You
you can
can,
figure it
but it
out.
also it goes into what we described as, it's hard, not the easiest to follow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Even here in the bathroom when she shoots the ashes in the toilet, she's like, "I shot him again." I'm like, ooh, there's some little foreshadowing there. There's a
Yeah.
clue.
Yeah. Or
Oh.
blatant admission.
It's also a
Yeah,
super strength toilet to take a bullet.
it is.
It's a super interesting bullet, and also, man, this silencer works great because no one else heard it.
Yeah. Freaking Floyd. And Lou, he flushed the toilet without a care in the world. He did not care about his partner.
No, he's going to his final resting place.
Yeah.
Or soon enough.
And then he steps out, and Marlene is going to leave and says she's gonna get him new wallpapers to pick from.
And then DeBoop, he talks to DeBoop and tries to
No,
get
hold on, hold
her.
on, hold
Well,
on, hold on,
he
hold on.
opens the
No,
door and the
no, the
secretary's there.
secretary is yeah, the secretary
Okay.
And she
arrives.
just gives him eyes like, another woman. Oh my goodness. And
She liked it.
Lou says to, does he say to all? I don't know if he says it's the secretary, but he says, like, I'll meet you at noon, or I'll meet you at 12.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
I'll meet you at the docks.
yeah, I'll meet you at the docks at 12. He never said midnight and he didn't say noon. But then later on, when I think the secretary, after he gets the call, says, I'll meet you at 10, I piece it together as like 10 and noon, so he only has a 2-hour window, not 10 in the morning to midnight.
But yeah,
Because it
fair
didn't give
assessment.
specifics.
Yeah. Um, let's see.
I
When
thought
White
I remember.
Swan saw the secretary, she brought up skinny dipping with Paul because Lou does not like hearing women's sexual exploits, and
No.
it's his only weakness. Is hearing that stuff. He doesn't like it. And then he goes to Boop and tries to get her to get the papers from the bad guy from World War II, Schmidt or whatever. It's not Schmidt, but I'll call him Schmidt. And she's for it. She'll do whatever she can to get the papers so they can go off and live happy together, blah, 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 nonsense stuff. And then we go to Georgia. And
Again, this is where she spills the void.
yes, yeah, that's when it happens. talk about
But we had to also another brief moment with the secretary too, because he was about to get the information until he hears Georgia scream.
God, what a scream! I think it blew out the mics. It's
it was loud.
loud.
I mean, I don't know if I would scream if I spilled your ashes in the fucking
Oh, she's just
one of your.
hysterical.
Yeah, she's not in the right mind. Definitely
No, she was gonna shoot
crazy.
Lou. If no one, if she can't have you, no one will.
That's true.
Lou had Georgia go get the letters that they gave between each other and the gorilla pictures, and told her to meet at the docks at 10, right? Or
At
did he not give her
at noon,
time?
at 12.
Or at noon?
Yeah, he
Noon.
gave them all the same time,
Yes,
Yeah.
all meet at
which I thought
12.
was
Which
which I thought was at night because I thought he did say at some point specify it was an evening, but that might have just been me mishearing.
oh, I thought he just said
Yeah, I
12
think
for
it's
all of
just
them.
12.
Same place,
Yeah, I
same
think
time.
so.
Which is a
Yeah,
little problem I have later in the movie.
Okay. We get Bess. She's willing to wait for any other women to come out of there.
yeah. It's like
And she's still interested in him.
Yeah, she wants her thanks.
Yeah. Yeah, she wants to be thanked hard or something, she said, like that. Wow.
she's never been thanked in her life, and she wants to be thanked.
He's like, "How did I ever overlook you?"
Yeah. And the way she solved the anagram was definitely a tough one. I can understand why it took 7 years for no one to figure it out. You have to swap out letters that aren't there. But
Yeah, and
the
honestly, the anagram thing was actually pretty clever. It's a nice bilingual touch. I think that actually works.
the example I used was how people spell czar.
Yeah,
That's interesting. And the name came out as Ezra blah 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 Desire. I shortened it to Ezra Desire, but it was a long name.
yeah.
And
What was
he's the owner of the Golden Gate Bridge.
one of the names was like an insult, right? Say like mud, uh, mud blue or something.
I
Uh,
don't recall.
mildew, was it? I thought one of his middle
No,
names was mildew or something like that. But
they said it so fast that I didn't really register the whole name.
Hmm.
So then, immediately after this revelation, Ezra calls them and wants to set a meeting for 10 a.m. tomorrow.
great timing.
Also, great timing. Yeah.
Amazing time. And the secretary said the name immediately after Lou said not to say the name ever again. See, and her name was Bess. I had to look at the cast because I don't remember ever hearing her name
I
stated.
never got her name either. I just wrote down secretary.
Yeah,
I just did secretary. Yeah, as I said, so many ladies I could not keep track, especially with one having 16 names. It was
Didn't
and
help.
then Chameleon enters the room with a bike, and then that's it. That's the end of the scene. I don't know what that was. Uh,
No, she's just there for the joke to the secretary. It's like, you got another one, huh?
yeah, but that's it. They don't talk about what that scene was. Weird, purely for the
Yep.
joke.
Yep. It's literally the only reason she's there, and they don't talk about it at all. I was a little annoyed with that, but I also get that
Yeah,
they just wanted to end.
find that one more of a problem
I wrote that
because
down as like I get they don't want the gag to go on for too long because it has this far been a long running gag, and there is a level of like, okay, now we have another one, you know. So I get why they cut it short, but I wish we got at least a line of dialogue about it at some point, just to reference it in passing, you know.
yeah, because the previous scene where all the women are in the house and they're not aware of each other, I can suspend my disbelief on that for a joke, sure.
Hmm.
But this feels like there should be plot relevance to her showing up, either her trying to convince him to do something or him calling her out, but it's literally nothing. I feel like it should be relevant that she's there,
Yeah,
but
I agree.
she's not.
just another lady in
Uh,
his life.
Another one, yeah. Then we go to Ezra Desire's house
The third
with
taxi
the
gag.
taxi.
Yeah, third taxi gag. I think this one's a Godfather reference. No tip, death in the family.
I
Never
wish it
seen
were
Godfather.
you.
Yep.
Uh, yeah, and we get introduced to Jezebel Desire.
Well, the
Who,
I don't I don't know why he was fully at it, but the butler kicks the rug out of the house.
yeah.
After he dusts his shoes because he finds them disgusting.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, he's absolutely disgusted with Lou,
Can I
which is why the
smoke?
guy comes
You're
up
in
like,
my
yeah,
house. No.
yeah. So when he dusts his shoes, you can kind of see he looks at the way he looks at Lou is just he's disgusted with him. So the rug is now pointless. Don't keep it in the house. You know.
Gotcha.
I see. Okay. Makes it a little bit better because it did seem a little thrown in. But yeah, Jezebel, she was going in hard on Lou there.
Oh yeah.
I assume you have an anime name for that type of character.
Kudere. Yes.
I have a
Okay,
name
there
too.
we go.
Miss Scarlet.
Was she Miss Scarlet?
No, she's not Miss Scarlet, but Miss Scarlet is
Oh,
quite revealing.
okay. I was like, I don't think it was. I don't have really much to say about Jezebel other than what I
I
just
literally
said.
because it's you know it was a parody. I'm like I literally wrote down daughter or wife in my notes like before that we get a confirmation on either.
Oh, yeah, with old man Ezra
Yep.
with a very bad looking wig or whatever piece
Very
on his head
bad
was,
makeup. This is
which
I, just,
I assume is the intention.
oh yeah, I 100% think it was bad on purpose. This is,
Sprinks, you got anything with Ezra
Uh,
before, or
Funny
not
character.
Ezra, Jezebel before Ezra enters?
No, no, she's quite seductive.
I think the only thing that bugged me about the scene is her intent to kill him when they're working together. In theory, because ultimately at
Well,
the end of the scene, they're supposedly working as a team, but there's a I assume the letter was there to screw up the detective, but the part where she like loses control and sends him off into the fire, I found that a bit problematic when they're teamed up at the end.
That's one. I think that was trying
I
to
didn't know what
sell
that was.
to Lou.
Yeah,
I don't know. With the whole notes giving back and forth, I think that was trying to find Lou to pick a side or show his morals somehow. Uh, but I wrote in my notes, "Murderous couple. Where have I seen this before?"
No. Yeah, the pushing in the fireplace, I didn't really understand what that was. I don't think it pushed Lou to concluding anything, and I don't think she was trying to kill him either.
Do you think it
So
was
I don't know
played
what that
as a red
was.
herring towards the audience watching?
If
could
it
be.
was, that would be bad because it
I
was
mean,
not very
they've been
good.
doing that a few times, so I wouldn't put it past them.
I don't know. It seems very weak if that was the intention.
Hmm.
It would be a
But
first
yeah,
viewing only kind of joke.
maybe. I don't know. I never
Look,
expected to know anything
if
from
none of the
that
three of us
interaction.
can decide on the real purpose of it, then it's
Probably not good.
didn't pay off the way they
Yeah.
wanted.
Yes.
Yeah. Or we're dumb. It's one of those two options.
Well, I know I am.
Oh, I definitely can be.
Yeah, it's a coin toss
Let's
for me. So you know. I
the
openly admitted at the start of this humor is typically not my sense of humor, so I wasn't laughing most of the movie, but I still enjoyed it.
the reason why they called Lou up here in the first place was to get him to figure out who stole their possessions, their
The
baubles,
jewelry. Yes.
The
um,
the bubbles.
baubles, baubles, burbles, as she puts it. Uh, and once he calls them out for who they really are, then they just go to try to kill him. I guess
Yep.
this plot line doesn't really go anywhere because he doesn't get them arrested for being illegal residents or anything like that. They don't really get any punishments at all for their actions. Well, except he gets shot, I guess, but fine. But Jezebel doesn't get anything wrong with, regarding her.
He nibbles on the job.
Oh,
No, I
okay.
don't nibble on the job. Thank you. That nibble was just such a random joke word to use. Maybe
Oh,
it was
and
played for, comedic.
it's her being seductive and all that stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, she's playing with his hair.
So when she said trinkets and baubles, gave away her her origin.
Romanians.
Yes, she's Romanian because she pronounces bubble wrong.
Yep. And they immediately switched to French. I mean, sorry, Russian accents or Romanian
Yes,
accents.
and they called Du Smart for figuring that out. I guess.
That's true.
They could have really
Uh,
played it off as a mistake or how they were raised or something, but she immediately just like took the mask off and went, "No, he figured it out."
I knew that word would get me. They played it off like they planned out this whole interaction. So why would they even use a word she wouldn't be able to say?
Because she thought she could say it this time.
I guess so. She was confident.
Or maybe he wouldn't catch it.
Through Vladimir, we find out that the treasure was stolen last the previous night, and he had a partner that. Well, Vladimir killed the fat French lady that went missing. That um, what was her name? Blubber. Yeah, that Blubber mentioned. So we find that out. He had a partner who we eventually find out is Marcel, and he took the treasure and left a bullet in his chest or whatever, and then he gets shot by Marcel. We don't see Marcel, but we know it's him because the blood that was left behind. And we get that interesting little window gag with the curtains.
Yep.
Yeah, there's just a door or I guess a door behind the curtain or something.
He just
Just
walks
an
right outside.
open
Yeah.
panel.
Yeah.
Yeah. It looked like on either sides too. It was just a window and two curtains, no walls
Oh,
on
what a set
the
piece.
sides.
What a house design.
Yeah. I like that Vladimir's like, I gotcha. And then Lau's like, no, I think they
I
got
think they
you.
got you.
Oh boy.
Uh, I like the kind of throwaway line that the body is revolting and it needs to be covered up. I, that's what he demands.
That is what he requests. And he brings up to Jezebel that she's not really guilty of anything and she should get going or whatnot.
Is anyone surprised she was not one of the ladies in the car at the end?
She was one of the ladies in the
Oh,
car.
she was in the car? Never mind then.
Yes,
Man, you
she
weren't
was
kidding
present.
about you not knowing anything about these these women.
Yeah.
She was the middle one.
Oh,
She did have a scarf or something covering her hair and neck and stuff, so I don't blame you fully for
okay.
not
I thought it was
recognizing
someone
them.
else then.
But she was the middle one. Um, anyone else got anything for this Ezra stuff here?
Notes and nope.
I do not. He gets another call. He gets a phone call at the house and just assume it's for him.
Yeah.
Doesn't he say
I
it's for
was
me? He like
yeah,
already
exactly,
knows.
exactly. Yeah, that's pretty much it. He just it's for him.
I couldn't really tell who that was because he referred to them as Angel, and he said the word "bobble" worked,
He calls
implying
everyone
that they
Angel.
planned out
I
they
assume the
planned out this
secretary.
interaction.
It's the secretary he was talking to.
That was my assumption, but I don't know. The bobble thing seemed weird. that they implied that it was planned. He planned to use that on them. It was weird.
Well, maybe the fact
Yep.
that she used the word bobble means she used it for every instance of it. So to track it down better to use the word,
Mm,
just a connection.
maybe. I found that phone call a little off.
Yeah, obviously, it was done for the gag of him just saying, "Oh, my phone, it's for me."
Yeah. We
And
get
this
to see that Mars. Oh,
yeah, no, I was gonna say, is Marcel introduced with, "There's a dying man dying to meet you"?
there's someone dying to meet you. Oh, there's someone that is dying that wants to meet you. Yeah,
Okay.
meet you. Yeah, yeah, that was Marcel. He came in with an oddly wrapped box and shredded newspaper.
What a box.
What a box.
Well made.
Um,
I don't know how it wasn't falling to
and
pieces.
I think this is the only time where they break continuity, because he dies standing,
Yeah,
or the
because
continuity of
Well,
the whole.
it wasn't her silencer that shot him. It was Ezra that shot him 10 years ago.
and Ezra didn't have the silencer.
Yeah.
As far as we know, no.
Okay.
So, this is
So,
the only time where that continuity is broken.
yeah, I think they're just inconsistent with the joke. Just a little unfortunate, but we got Sprinks' favorite joke out of that inconsistency, potentially.
I just
Consistency.
think it was so funny that they were unharmed and totally fine, and then they're just like, "No, we got shot and died."
Yeah, and then
Mhm.
we had another joke with Ezra not freezing immediately. He's like, ah, yeah. Oh, yeah. At least when they break it, it's for joke reasons. It's not just inconsistent to be inconsistent.
Yeah.
So the reason why he didn't die after 10 years is because he doesn't have salt and avoids spicy foods.
Yep. He cut out the salt intake and does not eat spicy foods anymore. I did snort a little bit at that, but
Well, you didn't start like Damascus, did you?
no,
Wait,
not
so
that.
how did he die then? What did kill him?
He bled out
He just
eventually.
bled out. Yeah.
Oh, after 10 years, he finally bled
10
out.
years.
That's what
Yeah,
happened. Oh,
exactly.
okay.
He says he doesn't have long at the beginning of the scene. So
Did
he's like,
Okay, so earlier on then, did Vladimir shoot his gun?
No.
no, I assume he died out from the wound 10
Marcel
years ago.
shot.
Okay.
Unless
So,
you're meaning to imply that the old man did shoot his gun, it just missed our detective and hit him.
that's what
That
I'm
is what
thinking.
Sprinks is asking.
Okay. It's possible.
No, that's what I'm
I
thinking because
genuinely
did
I don't think
Vladimir's
you're going for
bullet
that
kill him?
though.
They would have to be shot at the same time. There was only one gunshot sound. So
That is true, but
it would
Ezra
kind of mess up the gag if he just
Ezra did
dies
think
because of
he
that
shot him.
bullet. He's just an old fool, man. I don't know.
Oh,
I feel like it would be better for the joke if he bled out from a gunshot from 10 years ago than him just getting shot again and bleeding
okay.
out
I'm just thinking
an
if
hour
the
later or something.
gunshot, the reason he died is because Ezra shot him this time to actually kill him, and that's what killed him. And the reason he froze is because the one that he's been, bleeding out to for 10 years was used with the silenced.
Hmm. I do like Betty DeBoop's story when she arrives.
Oh, I
W-
figured you
w-
would. The
yes,
role play that they
the
did.
the role play was hilarious to me. I died of laughter. That was this was probably my favorite quote unquote joke.
Um, I guess before that, regarding to your statement, Springs, I guess there's no way to say one way or another.
No, there's no
I'm leaning more
knowledge.
towards the bleed out from 10 years, but it could go either way.
It's the fact that he froze when he died. That's what I'm because just previously with Ezra dying, Ezra didn't
Well,
freeze,
did
which is
did Ezra have a silenced gun? Was he
no,
using a silenced gun? I don't think so.
no. He was just using
No,
some
he
old
wasn't.
old gun, old
So
pistol.
I don't think the silencer thing would work anyways then.
Well, that's the thing.
Uh,
It never showed Marcel's first shot. Like the thing that he's been bleeding out to for 10 years. That's never shown or talked about really, right?
that's true. And when I watched it the second time, I did keep an eye on him to see if there was red on his outfit at all, and
Like at the
you never
restaurant
see
or
it.
anything. Okay.
Yeah.
So I'm thinking unless that first
Uh,
shot is the one to freeze him. Because
don't know.
Paul Paul also got shot, right? And the bullet's like in his head, but he's fine.
Oh yeah, Paul got shot in the head and survived. Yeah,
Okay, was he shot in the head with the silencer?
we don't know.
Okay, because I'm
We
thinking if
just know he got
Paul,
shot in
for
the head.
example, if Paul got shot and killed, would he freeze like Marcel? Not with the silencer, with just another weapon.
I don't know.
Okay,
I
it's a
I
real
think they're
question of
just inconsistent.
the power of the silencer in this movie, or so.
Yeah,
Okay,
not enough to say definitive on any of that stuff. Um, all right, Ryder, you're gonna bring up the joke.
She was Betty the Boop was a Stuka. No, sorry, Betty the Boop was Poland, and the villain of World War
She
II
went.
colonel was a Stuka dive bomber. I'm like, that's a funny description. I get what they're doing.
Yeah, she had to pretend to sleep.
Yep.
I don't know what the bombs she was hearing was, but I don't want to know. Terrible. But she did get the papers from him because of that. But then little Frankie stole it from her
yeah, and he did some other
because he
things.
was there. Yeah, and did some other things on the front of a car. Uh, what did she say it was? It was a dance or something.
I want to say conga. That's not it. It was the
Shoot,
Karma or something.
I don't
I
know.
didn't write it down.
Some sort of description of a dance. And once Lou calls, wait, did Lou call someone or someone called Lou? Lou's
Oh,
on the phone with somebody who described what Frankie did to her.
Yes,
Who was that?
Jason, right?
it's a blubber.
Who?
Jasper Blubber. Sorry. Yeah,
Oh,
Blubber's the
Blubber.
one that calls them in the scene.
Okay. Yeah. Blubber describes what Frankie did, and Lou did not like that at one bit.
No,
Yeah.
Left it to the
He did
audience's
what?
imagination.
Yeah.
He
Yeah.
gave her
This is
the
what makes Lou
stink
angry
eye.
because the payoff to this is gonna make him slap himself.
Yes.
that was a physical thing that I wrote down. That was, I think, funny. It's a physical um, show not tell of someone slapping themselves silly.
Yes. Did slap himself silly.
Marcel unfortunately dies in the scene, and they have to wrestle the diamonds from his grasp.
Poor Marcel. Poor French underground. They took a real hit today.
It's true. Um, we get our last taxi man delivery, and he's like, "You want to make some real money?"
Yeah.
Where he would deliver the packages as a distraction. I
Smart
legit,
play.
it's
This
very smart, but I legitimately thought that the payoff to this would the taxi man just get fucking mowed down, like it's The Godfather.
That would have been good.
this also showed me that Lou's apartment is unlocked the whole time because the taxi they're in Lou's apartment and he just opens the door.
Isn't there a chain lock that prevents him from coming in?
The taxi,
No.
I don't think so.
the
No.
cabbie. No.
But Blubber could have entered and then unlocked it. I don't know.
I don't
Either
think.
way,
I think Lou's the
everyone
only
comes out of
person
this
who used
place.
the fire escape.
Yeah.
That we definitely
Well,
see.
the
Yeah.
Boop could have done it to get in the kitchen. We don't know. Don't know.
Throw the bet on the gun.
Yeah, throw the bet on the gun. Um, not the best joke in this because they kind of had to. They dragged it on a little bit.
They even play it off as a mistake. Do you think it was
Well,
an actual line he screwed up on?
mm,
Because they kept it
no,
as
I don't
like,
think
oh,
so.
the whole case, and I've made one mistake or something.
No. Well, what kind of the opposite? He's like, this isn't the worst mistake I've had on during this case. Which I don't think he's really screwed up much in this case. He hasn't done much in this case, really. Because everyone keeps going to him.
Yep.
Everyone calls him to give him information.
Not much of a
He doesn't even
detective.
solve the anagram. His secretary does it. Oh, I don't know why this popped in my head. I forgot a little fact from the beginning. The reason why this is called the cheap detective is because the creative noticed in a lot of like noir detective stuff that the detectives never get paid by the end. So that's why it's called the cheap detective.
It's kind of true.
Because he never got paid.
Yeah, because a lot of detectives get like double crossed by their client, and they have to arrest them, so they don't get any money from the client or anything.
It's usually that or they're dead by the end,
Yeah.
and he still catches the criminal, but they're dead and doesn't get paid. Yeah.
Now that that random thought is gone. Yeah, Lou enters through the fire escape. Smart play. He asks for his change back from the taxi driver, and he obliges and leaves. Okay. And then, yeah, Frankie gets slapped silly.
It was a method of torture because everyone had to watch.
He's had enough.
They broke easily, just saying.
Yeah.
And yeah, they're weak though.
I
Frankie
know
was
they're
probably the
weak.
toughest one.
Lou put his back to all three of them and they didn't do anything.
That's true. Put his gun down. Well, not down, but wasn't pointing it any longer. That's several points. Uh, let's see. What else is
They get the
here?
package. They open the
Yeah, I
present.
was trying to remember if something's
There's a
between
music
that.
swelling too, like it's such a huge important event, like
It's a
in
big
most
moment.
movies. Yeah.
This is what we've been building up towards.
These are the
The
12
treasure.
fishermen
Yeah,
that took over Mongolia
The,
with
the
nothing.
eggs of the fishermen.
the Tibetan treasure. And we get the reveal that they're somehow living chickens.
I think
Chicklets, as Chameleon called them.
hopefully it wasn't animal cruelty, but I do think it's a nice effect of cracking open the eggs with live chickens inside.
Yeah, I don't really know how they did that, but it's cool. I don't get it. I don't. Did the treasure get swapped out? Was the treasure always these eggs with
We
chickens
don't
in
know where
them?
the treasure is at the end. At least I don't.
Yeah, I don't know what this was. On my second time viewing, I thought, well, maybe Lou got this from um, Marcel earlier because the music sheet was all torn up, kind of like this box. I'm like, well, maybe he had access to this and swapped it out in the beginning. But watching it again, there's nothing that implies that. So that would have been interesting,
Hmm.
but
Yeah, I don't know.
nothing to back that up, other than he had shredded papers, and this box is covered in shredded paper. Let's see. What was the Damascus wanted money to buy everything he could never have, like friends and a
And a
mom.
mom.
And Chameleon wants money to stay young and look pretty. And then Blubber, he just been his life's work down the drain.
And then the police arrive.
Yeah, you're under. What are the charges? You're under arrest for the murder of Floyd, Merkel, and 5 unimportant people. Not quite. The only charges you got on them is for kidnapping chickens or something like that. Which is that true? Did they do nothing else illegal in this?
Um,
I guess false identity by Chameleon.
well, being that they all know of each other and are all together on this act of, um, criminal act, would it not be necessarily guilty of association with one another and then possibly, depending on the past of events
Ah,
that
Rico
someone could do,
case.
depending, they could be harboring a fugitive?
I
Potentially, yes.
guess they could try for that. Yeah.
But in the film, we don't really necessarily
No.
see them do anything illegal. So
No. Yeah, that's true. And Chameleon gets let go for for
for the
Lou
harem moment at the end. Yeah.
to play with later. Uh, see, there's that. That's over. We go to the docks. Well, not quite. the bad guys from World War II are driving to the docks.
Oh, another name joke.
Yes. We got another bilingual joke here.
Schnell, is that the correct pronunciation? Schnell for German for quick, I guess.
And then
And
quicker.
then yeah, and then let's only use English. Quick, y'all. Yes. Never mind. I think with the reveal of the relevance of the bad guys from World War II, I feel like they should have had a larger presence because uh, we get like the Boop dealing with them, but that's all off screen and stuff. But since they're kind of a big bad at the end, I feel like they were kind of
Yeah, the
underutilized.
story of the Germans and Paul of the French was not really shown that much at all.
Yeah,
No, it's
it's
not.
kind of like a background plotline.
You'll be given a fair trial and found guilty.
Yeah, that was good. I liked that. That was like the um, oh my gosh, I'm terrible.
You're really blanking.
Klingon, the Klingon court system.
Yeah, maybe.
Just
Yeah.
like that. Let's see. Paul, nice guy. He's like, I'll give you anything you want. He's like, what about your wife?
Oh,
She doesn't
sorry.
have anything
I need
either.
a big correction. I think that's the Cardassians, not the Klingons.
The card. Oh, was it Cardassians?
Dukat.
Yeah, yeah.
I think it's the
That's right.
Cardassians, yeah.
It was Cardassians. Klingons. There's this by tryout fight or something.
Yeah, tribal combat.
Yeah.
Dun, 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 dun,
Yeah.
dun, 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 dun.
There you go, audience. You got that little
Ba-ba-ba.
sound bite. Put that as your new ringtone. Uh, but yeah, Paul just lets the White Swan go pretty much. Good on him.
Yeah, good for
He
him.
saw her
He
as
wants his
the trash
papers.
she was, as long as he got his papers.
Yeah,
Yep.
he didn't care
And
about her.
well, she didn't really care about him, which was great that she started to care once she saw he didn't.
Also,
Yeah.
it's kind of dumb because the first interaction we see with Paul with her is he goes, what does he say, Paris? And he's like, no, we're in America.
England.
England.
Yeah,
Ah,
see,
England.
it's the bullet wound that he had in the head. That
Yeah.
it didn't. He was never quite right after that.
Yes. So very good. Lou, very gutsy to be that up front. Very lucky Paul is a nice guy. Well, nice guy, air quotes, he's just stupid, but whatever.
Yeah. Uncaring. The papers. The papers is the main thing.
The paper house. And then Schmidt. I think I've been changing his name every time.
Colonel
I got
Schmidt.
World War II. Shows up right when Paul was about to leave. And we get another death gag.
Yep.
Still amusing when it happens.
They carry him off, which was good acting on the guy to remain
he was stiff.
while he's
That
being
was
carried
very
off.
good. Very solid, I guess, acting. And the cops say they got the other bad guys from World War II earlier. And Lou finds Georgia was the one that shot Schnitzel. Not
Yep.
Schmidt. Christ. And she admitted to pretty much all the murders. I don't know if you guys want to talk about that at all. Any particular
She
feelings
walks
with it?
up to the police car, still gun in hand.
Oh yeah, she gets
No
arrested
one
with
cares
the
she has a gun.
Yeah, she turned herself
and then
in.
she
Sorry.
and then she hands it over. But none of the cops are like, she's still armed or anything. I'm like, okay.
Nah, they're not good cops anyways. That's my defense. I don't know where she got a suppressed weapon, but
Well,
that's
she's had
looking
it
too
the whole
much into
movie.
it.
So
Yeah. Well, I don't know why she would be in possession of one.
also to just now revealing that she's the one who murdered her husband and lose partner and everything. She's murdered 7 people at the end of this movie.
I
Mm,
believe so.
The 6 at the beginning, and then the bad World War II dude.
yeah, yeah, I think so.
Yeah. And then we had the four unnamed people. Is that a reference to the people she killed in the hotel?
Yeah, I believe
Yeah,
those are the beginning. So those 6.
Okay.
yeah, 7 people.
Ooh.
She did not feel guilt for the innocents.
Nope.
No, she's a
Also
mad
told
lady.
to us by the title card.
Hmm?
The text crawl at the beginning also told us that that's what they were. She would not feel guilty.
Oh, yeah. Uh, the I guess something we're going back to the beginning. Something I forgot to mention during the credits part, the eyes through the fence. Do you think those are the actors or just some random people?
I haven't a clue. Could
I
be
haven't a
either.
clue.
No one has a distinguishing eye in this movie.
Yeah, I wasn't too sure. I didn't bother to look too deep into it. Curious if you guys had thoughts on that. Yeah, her motive was because Floyd was spending too much time with Lou,
Yeah.
so she killed him.
Yandere, I'm telling you.
Yeah, and she tried to kill White Swan instead of the bad guy from World War II. And as we brought up before, this is the one time she's a bad shot.
Granted, she isn't much further away in theory, so
Yeah. Uh, look at the-
she
she
killed all the people at the hotel because she was quite irritable.
That's what it was. I didn't have it written down. I remember word for
Mhm.
word. Quite irritable. And if she gets a good lawyer, she'll be out in 40 years and she'll try to look good still.
Something we didn't touch about the beginning of the movie. Do you guys do you guys know or think which order she murdered the people in? Because the detective said she was in the room for an hour and a half before leaving. So do you
Which
think?
Wasn't
or
it? Wasn't it a drunk guy that was in there talking to him, not knowing he was dead? Wasn't that what he said?
yeah, I thought there was a drunk guy that was in
It was
there.
a drunk guy that reported the
Oh, the drunk.
Floyd's body.
Okay, I thought
Because
she
we
was
had
talking for an hour and a half to him before
no,
murdering him.
she
No.
wasn't there um, with the police being aware that she was present. She would have been suspect number one if that was the case.
Well, no, no, no.
That's
That's
true.
not.
Even though she should
No,
have
no, no.
already.
I thought they stated she went up there, talked to him for an hour and a half, and then left, and then that's when he got murdered. So I didn't know if she started with her husband first, and then murdered, the 2 listeners, and then the lady in the hallway, and then so forth, or it's in order of who was shown murdered at the beginning. She started with the bellhop, and then the elevator, and then so forth.
For sure it was order at the beginning because the hour and a half thing that you're talking about was a drunk guy was talking to the dead guy, Floyd, for an hour and a half without realizing he was dead. And then he called the police.
So another
That's what
instance of
that
an
was.
unlocked door.
Or
It's
just
Canada,
she left it
okay?
open
Or
when she
well,
left.
I don't know if she'd
Uh,
do that, but okay.
I don't know. We got nothing on that. We didn't see her kill him. So, I don't know. And then we got the harem bit. Oh, and that things will be just the way it was, which has been a thing that's been brought up a few times with him and White Swan. But now he says it will be better,
Not
and then
better.
we get to see the
Yeah,
women.
doesn't want better.
Yep.
Also, all these ladies are totally fine with it. That's the other
Oh
thing.
yeah, they're all
Yeah.
on board.
Yeah, as long
Yeah.
as it's consensual, I don't care.
Chameleon says her name is Barbara Stanwyck. Is that her real name or fake?
Fake.
What do you think?
uh, now that she's officially part of the harem, I wrote it as 50-50.
Okay. And that is it. We have finished the Cheap Detective with the Cheapsy podcast.
Yeah, it was an interesting. Like I said, it was an interesting movie.
I do have something to state at the end here,
Okay.
which a thing earlier. So this is a different cab driver or whoever driver than the cabbie who went into the apartment.
Yes.
Whoever this driver is. It's
Mhm.
never shown Lou talking to him, right?
This driver?
Yeah.
Not that I'm aware of.
So
Only
This
at
when
the
is
very
the first time.
okay,
only at the very yeah, this is the only time he
so
talks
when
to him is at
Lou
the
told the
beginning.
three of them, "Hey, meet me here at 12 midnight," and they're already picked up by some random guy that was never planned, I went, "Where's the other two women?" He said, or I guess other three women to meet him here, because I don't think he ever told the secretary to meet him there.
True.
Presumably,
Like
he
I,
just told him off screen. I mean,
It
that's
just
all I
seems
could
like
get.
this random
It's definitely not
driver
there.
went and picked them up without being informed, and
um,
there was never Luke contacting him or setting it up, which just kind of felt like a break in the joke at the beginning of like setting the time up for all these women to be at the same time, and they weren't. So I just think the payout shown here fell because of this random driver, and then all of them just being present there, except for the White Swan who was with Paul.
yeah, I guess that's true. Well, the only thing I could say is that Lou did contact the driver ahead of time and told him to, once he saw the ladies pick them up at the dock, and then we saw them all corralled. But that's all speculative. There's
Okay.
nothing backing
Well,
that.
maybe in that case they were all there at the same time, but it's just such a big dock they weren't at the exact locations.
Yeah, it's possible.
Because the only one
There's
who
nothing
needed
to
to get
say
on the
one
boat was
way,
Paul.
but
So
yeah.
I can go with that, but then again, never shown.
Yeah, that's us writing for the movie as we do. I guess we'll just go to our summary ratings. So we'll go with writer.
All right. So as everybody knows, I had a bit of a kerfuffle goof in the first 15 minutes of this movie when I had to rewatch it, as realizing it was a parody. Um, I think in once that perspective got corrected, uh, I think this movie fared definitely a lot better than I than it would have if I kept going with the initial thought.
Oh,
Um,
good.
yeah. Uh, that being said, it's not it's still got its problems. Most of its problems though can be tied to just their over intended use to want to go with the gag. We pointed out a couple where with them all showing up in the car at the same time, or women sneaking into the house and we have no idea how they got there. It's kind of like that. Um, the script though is pretty tight, pretty decent. I the A lot of the jokes and gags are they don't seem like they were off the cuff, like uh what's the word I'm looking for? Ad libbed. It felt like it was scripted. Like they knew what they were doing. Um so I'll start with my objective for today. Um I didn't really laugh all that much in the film. A lot of the history stuff got me because that's where a lot of my niche jokes come from, and where I spend a lot of my downtime is just history and anime and writing. So a lot of stuff related to that you'll typically get me. Um, and there were a lot of jokes that I they were definitely of the time period. So I didn't laugh, but I could still recognize the quality of the joke that were the effort that they put in to kind of get it going. And there were a lot of niche running gags from like drinks, pre-made cocktails, uh, in drawers to the taxi driver, and to obviously the harem of girls that our main detective character gets. Um, the plot is a bit hard to follow. It's not this mystery is not the easiest one to follow, but it is followable, and I do recommend if you like the movie, you definitely should rewatch it because you'll definitely catch on to more hints in the mystery and stuff like that. Um, but the it's definitely split between the mystery. It's the difference between the mystery and the underground and the finding the diamonds. And I don't think those two things were as meshed together as well as they could have been. Especially towards the end, it started to feel petered out a little bit. Though obviously it's supposed to be about a down on his luck detective just doing everything pretty much. Um, so the plot is weakened a little bit by that, but it's not bad. Uh, as for world building is chaotic as fuck. It's intentional for sure. Uh, but they obviously didn't stick it through with some of the gags. Uh, they weren't as consistent. There obviously a lot of things are done just to get a laugh out of the audience, which is fine. At least it's not as bad as it could be. Uh, like other shows we covered in the previous season. As for characters, I think everyone's fairly well developed. You have a good sense of all the characters as they are involved. They all have their slight different archetypal niches that you can separate them out. I definitely feel like if you listen to Betty DeBoop's character and the White Swan's character, you can read their dialogue or hear their dialogue, and you would understand that they were who they are from having watched the film because they're all pretty distinct. Um, and then we have our main character Lau, who's uh pretty good for being a no nonsense detective in essentially what is a kerfuffle of nonsense. So that being said, I think objectively, I've settled on this film being around a 7.5, maybe an 8, but I'm settling with 7.5 for now. Um, Subjectively, um, I was bored for a fair portion of this movie. Um, and that's not saying I wasn't enjoying what I was watching, but the sense that the humor is most of it wasn't for me. Like I said, the most that got out of me was the history stuff, and the occasional gag, which the two nobodies killing over after appearing not affected by the fight at all. Um, so I think subjectively, I'm at exactly a 5.5,
All
directly in
right.
the middle.
Uh, there we go. And I'll just jump into my subjective stuff here. So I saw this, like I said, about a year ago. Just some random YouTube movie that was recommended, and I remembered seeing that this was associated with Murder by Death a while ago. So like, okay, it's here. I'll watch it. I did, and I kind of felt the same way as you, writer, where there were some kind of slower parts where it wasn't as engaging, and a movie I wasn't expecting to see again. Honestly, I originally gave it a 5 on my letterbox, or uh, 5 out of 10. They don't. It's not a perfect movie on letterbox. Uh, but having watched it 2 more times for this, I did find myself enjoying it a little bit more. So I'm going to match you with your 5.5. Um, Fine watching it again with somebody else, but odds of me coming back to this with just myself are pretty low.
I think it'd be a fun movie to do like as a group movie night, like if we're all together and we have drinks and stuff and we're all just having a good time. I feel like that would be a good setting to watch the movie.
Yeah, it's a decent time filler movie, I guess. In terms of objective points, I agreed with a lot of your assessments. I have trouble here with intent because a lot of, like you said, the rules they did set, some did break, like the dead thing. We could not pinpoint definitively the rules of dying in this, and that's a problem. I think we tried to help it with the silencer thing, but with
It
Marcel, that kind of breaks it a little bit. We had
like I
to
said, it's a mostly good
little
fix, but it
workaround.
obviously doesn't fix everything. Yeah.
Yeah, we have to work really hard for it to work. which is an issue. It shouldn't be that hard to make it work for them. But obviously, their intent is for the jokes. So it's hard for me to decide whether or not intent should factor in to the finished product here, because it is a parody. It's the purpose of it is to show the goofiness of noir films or certain tropes associated with them, like the White Swan and her monologuing and stuff is pretty good, and it's enjoyable. A lot of the jokes, I agree, are dated, but they hold up if you have a sense of humor. There are some that some people today would not like at all, but you got to go into these older movies with that kind of mindset. In regards to, I think one of the biggest flaws in this is the editing. I brought up one obvious one at the restaurant. Springs brought up a good one with the audio bit by the piano, but there were like three others that I didn't write down, but I just remember acknowledging existing. So there was a few editing problems in regards to this. The acting was all pretty decent across the board. Uh, Chameleon, I think she did decent. She's got a similar role in. She was in Blazing Saddles, right? She was the singer, Brinks.
I do not recall. I haven't seen Blazing Saddles in a while.
I think she's the singer in that. So she's got kind of the same kind of attitude, different character, but the way she acts is similar across those two. Um, the plot, I do think, is a hindrance a little bit, where it gets a little sloppy, and the paper's plotline with Paul is the weakest one, and kind of put to the side. But it's not a complete and utter mess where you can't follow it. And I do like how you can, and with the murder plot, figure it out. Brinks, you said you hinted at it in the bathroom is when you were thinking it was her.
Yep.
And that's what, 2/3 through the movie, so it's decent. So I think all the elements they were going for, they did right. So it's really hard. I was between a 6.5 and a 7, and I think I'm gonna land at 6.5 for it, and that'll be it.
All right. Well, I guess I'll go. What do I start with? I'll start with subjective. I think it was a funny movie. I think the acting was fine. It was a little hard to follow, but that didn't take away my enjoyment. A lot of it was witty dialogue, and the witty dialogue did play to the plot at times, and then other times the plot paid more to the witty dialogue. So it was hand in hand and not like forced onto one side or the other. Overall, yeah, I thought it was a fine, okay movie. I'd see it again. I'm giving it a 6.5.
Okay. I was figuring you were gonna be around the 6 mark.
Now for objective. Geez. I think the camera work was pretty good. I think there were shots I really liked. The difference of handheld to dolly to tracking that they were used in the film, especially with the small sets. I'm guessing they're sets. The apartment did seem actually no. The apartment could be a set, but it also could be a full uh, actual live stage because of all the angles it's shown. So I don't know. As I said, the acting I think was all very good. No one was kind of a jokey character. I think Vladimir was probably the only one, but he was portraying a joke to begin with before showing his true intentions. I think the editing could have been better, but there were parts of the editing that played off as a joke for the way they were edited, like the monologue. Yes, it could easily be shown, but the fact that she's just continually still talking about it after like cutting between back and forth, I think that's a little funny. Uh, I I wish the movie would show more. I know I say it's subjective, that was fine, but objectively to state more if the joke is being played for the film and to drive the story, or if the story is to drive the joke.
You
Because
were wishing for more clear distinction?
I wish it was more smooth to be shown, because it's very
Mhm.
choppy in showing like, oh, this joke is to be a joke to move forward into the next scene, opposed to like the taxi kind of thing. That's just kind of a joke to be there at the beginning of each scene, versus a joke that's the story like forcing its way into a joke. Um, can't think of an example off the top of my head, but it's
Like
like,
Chameleon being dead, or
yeah, yeah, the joke is for him to go through her stuff to see stuff, but and then she's, just sleeping. So it's a joke that's present for him to get into her bag, like that kind of thing. And it's a mix of both throughout the film, but it feels very, I don't know, topsy turvy rather than smooth. I think it should be more smooth, and I don't necessarily want to blame it on the dating of when the film came out of the 70s and how they did things, but I just think that kind of just offset me a little. Um, what else? What else? What else? Lighting. Lighting was nice. There was some good set lighting and some good natural lighting. I mean, a phenomenal one is the beginning with the director by on the back of the jacket, and he walks forward into the lighting to show that it's actually a physically written on and not, done in post. I think that's wonderfully done. All the close-ups on the mouths during the phone calls to just show the shadowing of the mouth and nothing else of the facial features. Thought that was great. So lighting was really good. Um, yeah, overall, my ejected did change. I'll say that. Originally, I started with an 8, but then we discussed it more, and I got more of the problems I saw, like the all of them meeting at the dock, and they couldn't have. The discussion of like, that's why I brought up the thing of the gun, like who shot him previously, because it could still work out, but it was never shown or told. So the freezing him then could be inconsistent, and um, all of that. And then the what was the other problem I had that you talked about? I can't even remember it now.
um,
There's something else I had where the movie didn't quite make sense. I mean, it's not necessarily the easiest to follow because there's three storylines kind of going on all at the same time, and Luke kind of focuses mainly on one, and the main focused one isn't kind of like domino
think
affected to affect
I
the
think you had
others.
a I think you had a similar one, criticism to Crimson and I, where we were talking about the French partisan storyline.
I mean, yeah, it was
Was
it was definitely the weakest. It was very small because it's kind of only shown in two scenes, which is like at the very end and then the restaurant. It's not really shown anywhere else, and something Lou's doing isn't domino affecting the change in story there. Kind of. I mean, to get the papers, yes, he tells Betty to Boop to go get the papers, but even that's not shown, and it's just word of mouth to Lou. So, but I mean, it didn't really break the movie. It didn't take me out of it. The humor still got me and engaged me to continue with the movie. I recognized some of the actors. So yeah, objectively, I'm giving it a 7.
also went down a whole point.
Yes.
All right. Well, I guess that is it.
Huh.
Uh,
Hmm.
Sweet.
Good, interesting choice. I'm still sitting on it. So this is one of those movies I actually do think my objective will change upon a rewatch. But it was good. I
Oh,
enjoyed it.
also, did
Good
anyone
choice.
sit through the credits?
No.
Okay, so the
No, I did not.
beginning, they had the beginning credits shown, which usually older films do. The credits at the end of this movie are maybe 2 minutes. It's one of the shortest credits I've ever seen.
Okay. In that regard, I saw how much time was left. Yes.
Okay.
Uh, it was short.
I just wrote down how short the credits are. And I'm like, did they really? That's everyone? They credit everyone already? Like, wow. Tight crew.
Efficient work.
I guess, Ryder, if you want to sign us out.
Yeah, sure. As always, you can find us on Spotify, Anchor, Google, Amazon, Castbox, and Pocket Cast, and Samsung. Um, that's for audio side of things. And we also have our visual medium where we got our PNG tubers on YouTube at Cheap Seat Critics. And feel free to like, comment, subscribe, and tell us how much you hate our opinions or how much you like them. Uh, as always, I have been a geeky writer,
I'm Crimson Maroon.
And I'm Springs.
and we will catch you next time. Later, everybody.
Toodaloo.
Bye.